Can we bow our heads in prayer, please? In Jesus' name, in the mighty name of Jesus. Father, Lord, we thank you for bringing us here safely today. And we thank you, Lord, for protecting us. Lord, even as we have this program, Lord, please let us learn from it in Jesus' name. And let us not just be hearers of your word, but doers of it in Jesus' name. We open this session in the name of the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. In Jesus' name I have prayed.
Amen. Very well done. Guys, can we give him a clap? That was really good. Okay. Youths in the house. English, sorry. Youths in the house. Are we ready to get uplifted? Hello? Are we ready to get uplifted? Yes. One more time, guys. Please. Energy, energy. Are we ready to get uplifted? Okay. The moment is... He was the loudest. Well done. Right. Because the moment is upon us. So, the topic for our first session is centered around youth, money management, and financial literacy for young people. Now, let me describe our speaker for you today. Our speaker, she is a financial consultant. She's a children's financial literacy educator and author, and she studied business economics at Brunel University of London. For the next 40 minutes, please join me in welcoming Mrs. Angela Enabo.
Thank you so much. That was really lovely. Beautiful introduction. Hello, everybody. How are you? Lovely to be here. Lovely to see you all. It's such a privilege to be in the company of amazing young people. I hope you're all excited about money and to learn how you can be better with your money and be really wealthy with your lives, and especially living to the best of what God has called you to be. So today we're just going to be talking, and hopefully you've got lots of questions. I will go through my presentation, and then at the end you can ask me any questions that you have. But I really want it to be interactive. So if at any point you have a really burning question, write it down. But if you feel like you really need to interject, just raise your hand and you can ask the question. Is that okay? Yes? Okay. So we're talking about intentionality and what you can be doing today, even as young people, to have a good tomorrow. And these are things that I'm sure a lot of us wish we knew, and a lot of the adults wished we knew, so that we could really be in a better place today. Okay? So I'm going to start by asking you a question. If somebody walked into this room today and said, "Oh my God, this room is full of rich people," like talking to you guys right now, what do they mean? They know that you're young, they know that you don't have a 9-to-5 job yet, but if somebody walked in here and said, "Oh wow, look at how many people are here, you're also rich," what do you think they mean? You can put your hand. You don't have to wait till the end to answer. Okay, if you please tell me your name and then what your answer is. Yes? Yes, that's a good answer. Yes, 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 yes. You are, but the adults will probably have more knowledge than you, right? Or you would hope they would have more knowledge. But you would be rich in terms of knowledge because that's something you've acquired yourself. Anybody else? If somebody called you rich now, knowing that you don't have a job or a salary, what do they mean? Anybody wants to have a go? Yes? Yes, amazing. From a financial point of view, remember I'm the money lady. Good character, yes, honesty is really important when it comes to money and finances as well. So yes, you are rich in character. Hopefully good, godly, honest character as well. What else do you think they might mean? You guys have to give me the answer. Otherwise everyone's going to have a go. Who else is going to try? We'll get two more answers and then I'll tell you.
Maybe rich in looks.
Yes, that is an asset as well. So yes, that is a good answer. From a financial point of view, somebody called you really rich, every single one of you here, what else do they mean? Just one more person and then I'll tell you.
Rich in the way you manage your money.
Absolutely, to an extent, yes, because you've got the adults. Okay, fine. I will go over, and it's really interesting. These answers are really interesting because perhaps what that's telling me is that you probably don't know what you're actually rich in, and that has to be the very first thing, hopefully, that you will take away, is that as you are sitting here right now, you are so rich in one very important thing. Go on, sir.
I think, from my opinion, I think they are rich in terms of the time horizon that they have.
Yay! Perfect. Was that what everyone else was going to say? Yes. And you see, that is so interesting. Please, let's clap for the parents. Woo! Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. And that is the thing that you guys don't really appreciate that you have, but it's the biggest tool that you actually have is time. They're sitting there thinking, I wish I was your age, learning about money, being intentional from this age, and you're sitting here thinking, I don't know what I'm rich in. I don't have any money, but time. The biggest tool that you all have right now is time. It's the fact that you've got all of these years to actually hopefully do something really good and important with your life. And that's something that a lot of older people don't have, because they're already at a point where, to be honest, for some people, it's already on the decline. They don't have a lot of time to make changes, to do good things, to make good decisions, and that is what you have. Who's heard of the word compounding before in terms of finance? Anyone heard of it? What does it mean? Anybody? Do you know? If you don't know, you can tell me and I'll just tell you. Do you know? When you say something's compounding, if you say good habits are compounding, or this really bad habit you have is compounding, do you know what it means? Go on now, tell me. Yeah.
It's sort of like accumulating over time.
Exactly, over time. That's the key word. So whatever you do now, whatever good habits you have, whatever bad habits you have, is only going to get better or worse with time. And that's who you're going to be. So right now, you are rich in time because you have all of this, by the grace of God, plenty years to actually build up on really good habits that will really set you up for success. And we'll give an example of that later. Thank you very much for engaging. Okay, the next question I have, before I go into telling you lots of other things, is if somebody comes in here now as well and hands each of you a £50 note, what is the first thing that you are going to do? Listen to the answers. Someone's already smiling, like, yes, I'm going to check out my basket online. So what's the first thing you do? You have four options, beg your pardon. And just let me know which one you will choose. So the first option A is I will spend it today on things like clothes, food, games, or other things that I want. That's A. B is I will save all of it for someday. C, are you writing or do you want me to go slower? So A is spend it all on the same day on food, clothes, maybe games. B is I will save it all for someday. C is I will split it into three. I will spend some, I will save some, and I will give some. And then D is I'm not sure, I haven't really thought about it. So who is for A, I will spend it all today on food, clothes, and games? Like £50 right now.
There's some hands up.
Perfect, that's really good. Save it all for someday in the future. Okay, majority. C, split it, spend it, save it, and give some away. Oh, look at you generous people. I love it. Okay, C. And then D is not sure. I haven't really thought about it. Nobody. Okay, that's amazing. So the good thing, again, with that answer is you guys have an idea of what you would do with your money. Just maybe not what I would do. But it's a good thing that you know what you would do with your money. That's really interesting. So now we're going to talk about why intentionality matters. And if, again, somebody can tell me, why should you bother? Why does intentionality matter at this age, especially when it comes to money? You've got a lot on your plate anyway. You need to go to school, you need to get good grades, you need to be good children at home, you need to go to church. So why is it important to be intentional about your money at such a young age? What do you think that's actually, like, what's the point? If you've got parents that's supposed to be paying for everything, why should you need to answer. This is interactive. You're smiling at me. So the boy at the back. Yes. Well, or you were smiling. So, yeah. Go on, Francis. Why should you be intentional about your money at this age when you've got parents? Just say whatever comes to your mind. There's no right or wrong answer. Inflation, yes. So being intentional now can help you manage inflation. You didn't answer the question fully, Francis. You just said a word, inflation. What does that mean?
Expensive in the future.
Okay, so being intentional now, what does that do in terms of inflation?
You can save money to get out of inflation.
Okay, perfect. Thank you very much. That's a really good answer. Another thing that I want to tell you guys is that financial habits are formed by the age of 7. Are there any 7-year-olds in this room? No, you're all older than 7. One 7-year-old. No, you're all older than 7. So that means that your financial habits are already formed. The ones that are going to be good with money amongst you you already have the trait, and the ones that are not going to be good, the traits are already there. What we try and do now is just to help guide you and perhaps a little bit of damage control. I know some of you would hear me and just say whatever, which is fine because your habits are already formed. But hopefully those of you that are willing to taking on good habits, you can change the trajectory of your lives at the moment. But the reason why young people should be intentional about their money from a really young age is because your habits are formed really, really early, even if you don't realize it. The other reason is that 1 in 3 adults in the UK, adults, so not children, 1 in 3 adults in the UK cannot manage their own money. That's why you have Klarna. That's why you have buy now, pay later things. That's why you have credit cards. That's why a lot of people are in debt, because 1 in 3 people adults don't know how to manage their money. And we want to make sure that you guys don't fall into that statistic. The other thing is that when you equip young people really young, they become better adults because they already have good financial habits as they grow older. So that's why intentionality really matters. But I know as well, being a young person not too long ago, making my own money decisions, that there's certain things that just come into my mind that kind of conflict with a lot of these adult things that I'm supposed to be thinking about. So I know some of the myths that you guys might have and that is worth addressing today are things like, I'm too young to understand money, I will learn when I get a job, my parents would look after me because they'll be here forever, or I cannot afford it, and things like that. But you're the ones that are going to go into university. You're the ones that are going to get into debt. The debt is going to be in your name. And so it's really, really important that from now on, you at least have a plan for your life, because it's your life at the end of the day. And I will share a story with you guys. Well, it's not a story, it's my life, really, about how I ended up doing what I do now and why I'm really passionate about teaching financial literacy to young people. So I remember during GCSEs, I really wasn't bothered. And I was one of those children, God help my children, that just used to think, whatever, my mom would say all these things to me, yeah, whatever, I can't be bothered, GCSEs were not good, I must confess, I didn't have really good grades. And I just didn't really see why. I thought whatever I was doing in school was for my parents and they were just disturbing my life, and why should I bother? Because that's what you do when you're young. Like, I'm not even gonna knock you guys if that's where you are now, but I will tell you my own life story. This is not somebody else's, right? Then I got into A-levels, and my predicted grades at AS was like, I don't know if they'd use the same grades now, but I had 2 U's. That's unclassified. I had 2 U's and I think 1 D or a C. That was my predicted grade in AS. And then I started thinking about university, because at that point I was still like, study, whatever, I can't be bothered. It's fine. That's where I was. Then I started looking at universities and I started looking at student loans. Do you know, it was one day I was on UCAS, I think it was. The penny dropped in my brain, because on the forms and all the things I was applying for, it didn't ask for my parents' name. It was asking for my name. It was asking if I was going to get student loan. Me, it just clicked that this was the start of my actual life. Everything I was going to do now, I was not a custodian under 18, under my parents. It was me. Whatever I did, this was my future. I would have to explain to my own children why I ended up with 2 U's and a D. So at that point, sense came into my brain, and I decided I needed to turn it around. And I'm really pleased, to the glory of Jesus, and standing, you can verify all of this. I got AAB in the end, coming from 2 U's and a D. Thank you, girl. Thank you. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And not only that, when I started applying, again, it clicked. Again, you guys are at different points, but I hope that you wouldn't have 2 U's and a D before you realize what I realized. I realized, actually, where in the UK, there are a lot of things that are available for ethnic minorities. I'm going to uni, this is the way my own brain works, so I'm going to uni, I'm going to get a degree that I'm going to use to serve people. Why should I pay for my degree, right? If I was getting a degree that I was going to use for myself, then okay, fair enough, I should pay for it. But if I'm going to actually serve you with what I'm going to learn, I shouldn't be paying for getting knowledge to help you. So my brain at the time told me to look for scholarships, which I did. Remember all of that, I didn't tell my dad, I didn't tell my mom. It was me by myself with my brain in my room, thinking, no, I'm not going to fall into this trap. So I went online and I started looking for scholarships. And so I found an ethnic minorities scholarship. I don't know if they still do them now. This was many, many years ago. I found an ethnic minorities scholarship that Brunel was offering. A lot of my friends at the time wanted to go to other universities, but again, I didn't do that because I'm not going to pay to study to then give you my knowledge. So I found a scholarship online. The minimum requirement to get into the course was ABB. So that was my target. And if I did that, I would get my tuition for free. So I worked back from that. I did all of my Dexel papers, all my AQA pass papers. I was really determined. Not for my parents. And I need to let you, if you're like me, this wasn't because my mom said, my dad said, this was me realizing that going into university and getting that student loan would mean I would finish uni with all of this debt. And at this point, it just became personal. So I just needed to figure it out. So I got the grades, and that was then my target. Worked really hard. Remember, this was just 1 year to turn it around. And I got the grades that I needed. I went to university. I have no student loans. I'm not paying any student loans. And that's really set me up for after university, such that when I then finished university and got a job, I was able to buy a house in 2 years. Because all of my salary was going into saving a deposit and then getting a house. I have nobody taking any extras from my money. And that's not because anybody held a gun to my head to do it. It's about being financially literate as a young person and really having a goal for your life, because it is your life. You see, so this is very personal. You do not have to be like me. I'm just sharing as to why I believe it's really important for young people to have financial literacy, but also have a goal so that you're working towards something that's really achievable for your age and for where you want to be in life. If you want to have a life of debt, that's equally fine. But I really hope that you will be able to make really good financial decisions from this age, because you can. And I did as well. And I'm standing in front of you with very little debt, which I'm very proud of. And hopefully that's something that you can take forward in your lives as well. So today we're going to talk about 7 habits to build financial intentionality that you all can start to do now. I'm not going to tell you anything that's not achievable for your age and that you cannot start to do now, or that I haven't done, right? And so I will go through really quickly, and then we will go through them one at a time, right? So the first habit that you need to start to imbibe to be financially literate as young people is to know where your money comes from. Know where your money comes from, or know how to earn money. So that's the first thing if you're writing. The second thing, let me wait a minute. So know where your money comes from, or know how to earn. The second thing you need to do, or the habit you need to learn, is know how to save, and make sure you save first. The third thing is you need to know how to spend wisely and to know what your needs are and what your wants are. So know how to earn or where your money comes from. Save first. Spend wisely. Know your needs from your wants. The fourth thing is you need to know how to grow your money. You can put /investing. How to grow your money. The fifth, let me know if I'm too fast. The fifth is learn how to protect your money. The sixth is avoid debt. It's a shame my slides aren't up. I didn't bring the right cables. But I've put an asterisk on debt because sometimes you need debt if you use it wisely. But we'll talk about that in a minute. But try as much as possible to avoid debt. And then number 7 is, I've put here is a bonus point for Christians. And I've put here cheat code is giving. So number 7, a habit that you need to build financial intentionality is knowing how to give, what to give. Don't give everything you have, but knowing what to give. And in there I've put Proverbs 22:7 that says, the rich rules over the poor and the borrower is servant to the lender. So that's a cheat code if you're a Christian. A lot of people who are not, actually a lot of people who are not Christians, they know how to give. Hence why you have a lot of charities. So they know that that is a cheat code to wealth, but we'll talk about it in the way that it can help you. So I'll run through it again really quickly and then we'll talk about them one after the other. So know and track where your money comes from or how to earn money. Save first. Spend money wisely. Define your needs from your wants. Know how to grow your money /invest. Learn how to protect your money. Avoid debt. And then giving is a Christian's cheat code. Have you got everything? Okay, perfect. So we'll go through it one at a time. Remember, if you've got any burning questions as I go through these things, you can ask me. Otherwise, we'll do the questions at the end. So earning money. Real money beats abstract theories is what I've put here. Earning helps you to know the value of, appreciates value. Earning helps you to appreciate the value of money. And it also builds confidence, work ethic, and independence. Is there anyone here right now that earns money at home or one way or the other? Oh, amazing. 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 What do you guys do? Yeah? That's amazing. It's a lot more than I thought.
2 things. Like, 1, I make artwork and sell that. And then 2, like, I have a few platforms where I sell, like, old stuff that I've used.
Oh, amazing.
I'm thinking of, like, selling beats as well, but, like, I'm not sure, like, how to, get started in that. So I'm researching that.
Wow, that is amazing. Well done.
Okay, so this summer I just started using Vinted to get rid of my old clothes. And like I've sold a lot of stuff so far. I'm using it to earn myself some money, and like I have bought some stuff, but like I'm not planning to use all the money just to buy stuff.
Amazing. Well done. Well done. Wow. That's amazing. Anyone else earning? Cares to share? Oh, there's somebody here in the middle. Do you want to put your hand? Go on.
I have a job. I'm a waitress. I get money from that.
Well done. Well done. There's somebody else? Going to put your hand up a bit more so she can see.
I just work full time. I work in HR.
Amazing. Well done. Wow, you guys are very advanced. Very advanced. Amazing. Anybody else who is not earning any money right now but would like to know ways that you can earn money as a young person? Yes, okay, perfect. So I've got a few examples, but anybody else can share if you've got other things that I haven't put here. I've put babysitting, pays really well actually, pet sitting or dog walking, upcycling, graphic design. I need a graphic designer, so if there's a really good person here for graphic. Really? Okay, give me your card after the session. But you can learn graphic design, social media management, video editing, AI automation. These are all things that you can learn yourself online, by the way. Another way that young people can earn money, really good money, is by writing or by blogging. If you're really good at a topic and it's something you want to do. The other thing is learning about a sector, like if you're interested in vintage stuff or, old coins or, things from the past, you can learn about that, and that's also a good way to make money as well. I've put a bonus point here of how you could also earn money is speak to your parents and take a job off them. I didn't say ask for pocket money. Something that they're already paying for, like a service that they're already paying. So if somebody comes to cut the grass or, I don't know, do your ironing or I don't know what, something they already pay for, ask them if you can take that on as a job. And remember that you can be fired if you don't do the job that you take off them. Yeah. But that's a way. Wow. See? Lots of clapping there, no clap. But yeah, you can ask them, and that's things that a lot of young people that I work with do, and they just take something off their parents at home. I'll share another tip because these are things that I did. So in my house growing up, I was in charge of negotiating our Sky bill every year in the house. And what my dad did, because I lived with my dad when I was growing up, was he said to me, whatever savings that I made on the Sky bill, I would get. That was what he used to incentivize me. So every year when the bills were due for whatever, eventually I started doing all of it because I was earning a lot of money from it. But I started with Sky. And so when it was time for the Sky renewal, I would call them. They would say, are you the bill payer? No, I'm not. I give the phone to my dad. He would speak. And then they'll ask me, oh, what package have you got? Have you this? So I started to negotiate the bill. And usually there'll be like a 10% loyalty discount, something, whatever they would bring the bill down by. And the difference between what he used to pay and what he now used to pay, that was my money. And so that was something that I did at home to earn. I mean, it was once a year. But I did that for Sky. I did that for gas and electric. I did that for all the bills eventually. And I was making a tidy little sum. So that's another way that you can earn from your parents. Hope that's okay, parents. If they come home and start to, is that all right? Okay. So you've got the permission. If you're good at negotiating, that's something you can do. Most companies wouldn't speak to you guys initially, but if you give the phone to your parents, get them to get all the security questions out of the way, you can definitely be negotiating their bills, saving them money and earning money if they're going to give you the money. So that's something that I did, and another way that you could earn. A fun fact about earning that I really want you guys to really, really understand, and I'll read it really slowly, not to patronize you, but I want you to really get it, is that the 2026 World Billionaires list includes 3,428 entrepreneurs, investors, and heirs worth a combined $20.1 trillion. So the list of all of the rich people, 3,428 of them are entrepreneurs, investors, heirs, and they're worth $20 trillion. The link is here. It's a Forbes report. Most people on the list built their wealth as founders, CEOs, major shareholders, and investors. Do you guys understand what I'm reading, or you want me to explain it a little bit? Because there's a point I'm trying to get out here. None of these people who are worth $20 trillion made their income from a 9-to-5 salary. Yeah? Even those who technically had a job, like Jensen, the CEO of NVIDIA, earned their fortune primarily from equity ownership and company growth, not a salary. What does that mean for you guys in terms of building wealth? If the richest people in the world are entrepreneurs, major shareholders, and investors, what does that mean for you? If you want to build wealth, it's not compulsory, remember. But if you do, what does that mean in terms of the trajectory that you should be thinking of as young people? Any ideas? Or let me break it down a little bit. What does that mean when you compare it to the idea of going to uni, getting a job? I worked a 9-to-5 for a very long time, so I'm not saying it's a bad thing. But there is a level of wealth that data is backing, where the people who are really, really wealthy are not 9-to-5 people. What does that mean for you as a young person? Okay, go ahead.
So like you don't have to like work really hard to get money. You just have to like know how to use it and know how to grow it, like invest and stuff.
Amazing, fantastic. Yes, thank you very much. Anybody else? Anybody else? No? Okay, so the idea, hopefully, from this statistic is that you would realize that getting a job, getting a 9-to-5 job or whatever kind of job is a good thing, but it ideally should be where you start from. So as children of God especially, we should be thinking more about ownership, about becoming business owners, about becoming investors. And I also want you to know that not everyone is built to be a business owner. So if that's not who you are, that's fine. But you can be an investor. You can partner with a friend who already does something and grow things. But real wealth does not come from getting a monthly salary for a very long time. You can get a monthly salary for a while, but have it in mind that you want that money to be used then to create something, so that you then have employees, so that you then have people who can invest into your businesses as well. That's where the real money comes from. Is that okay? Do you agree or do you not agree? Do you agree? And some people, it might be okay, even if you've got a 9-to-5 job, have something else that you're investing in, because that's really where the growth comes from. And you should only invest in things that you understand and that you know about. Yeah? So that's the thing I wanted to say on earning. So we're going to go next into saving. And the point that I've put here is you cannot save what you don't earn. So you need to start first, like we said, by earning, finding a way to earn. I've given you lots of good examples, I hope. And you need to get into the habit and the practice of saving. And as somebody said earlier, the least you can do when it comes to saving is making sure that inflation doesn't take away the money. So you earn good interest on your saving. I'm going to pause here and explain this a little bit. So you know that, I don't know who remembers when a Mr. Whippy ice cream was £1? I don't know. Yes. How much is it now? It's like £3 something. Exactly. So inflation is this concept where the value of things or the cost of things increases over time. Like most things you see, it can be one price yesterday and then a few days time or a few weeks time it's a different price, right? So let's say, for example, you had £10 and you really just held on to that money a year ago. Can that £10 from a year ago buy you the same thing today as it would have last year? No. So what does that mean? That means that if that £10 isn't growing, you're actually losing, right? Because you're buying less things today than you would have been able to buy a year ago. So how do we make sure that our money is growing as the cost of things are growing as well? What kind of things can we do to make sure that we're growing our money just in line with inflation? We're not even trying to do anything else with it. Yes? So that the same things that we could buy last year, we could buy the same things this year.
There are quite a lot of ways to do that. I think a pretty obvious one is by, putting your money in a savings account. So that, like, say you have £10, you have a growth rate of, say, 3% a year. Or maybe even a month, let's say. That doesn't sound like a lot, but by the end of the first month, you'd have £10, 3 pence. By the end of the second month, you'd have £10, 6 pence, £10, 7 pence, depending which way you're rounding. And then by the end of the third month, for example, you'd have £10, about 10 pence.
Yes.
Because that just keeps growing exponentially. Yes. By the end of the first year, you'd have a lot more than that. So I think that's a good way to insulate yourself against inflation taking away the money. Because even as the money is depreciating, the overall value, I don't think, changes as much because it's still growing in a sense.
Amazing. Thank you very much. Please let's give him a round of applause. That's a really good answer. And to break that down even more, what he's just said, and I find a lot of people don't do, is your money, no matter how small, should not be in your current account. How many people now have bank accounts and all of the money you've got is in your current account? Bad. So just by what he's explained, you should have very minimal money in your current account. Why? Because there's no interest in current accounts. Your current account is designed for everyday spending, right? It's not designed to grow your money. So every person, regardless of how much you have, as little as £10, you should have a savings account. If you don't manage it yourself, ask your parents. You should have your savings account. And you should be interested in not just having a savings account, but be interested in how much your savings account is earning. Because if you're earning, say for example, inflation right now is what, about 3%-ish. So say for example, inflation is 3%. So that means things are getting more expensive by about 3%, right? And you've got a savings account that's only giving you 1%. Like, the math is not really mathing, right? So your savings account should be giving you at least what the money is depreciating by. Do you agree? So that way your money isn't losing value, it's at least staying the same, or maybe even better still growing. And that's something you can all do, by the way. A lot of the children's bank accounts have really good saving interest rates. So that's something that you can do that's really available to you and that you should take advantage of. So it's not just the idea of saving. You can save a little bit, maybe in your piggy bank, but make sure that eventually it's in an account that has interest that's higher than the rate of inflation. Is that okay? Okay, so that's saving. And I've got here a few tips for saving really well, and there are 5 of them. I'm going to read them out to you. The first thing is, when you're saving, you need to define what you need to save. So define the amount and define a goal. If you do not have a goal, you're not going to be motivated to save, full stop. If I did not realize that debt was going to be my name forever and ever, I don't think I would have studied as hard as I did in that year to make sure I got good grades. So having a goal really helps you focus and gives you an amount to work towards. So have a goal and have an amount that you want to save. The second thing is, you need to automate your savings. So if you rely on yourself to always save, you probably will not, because there are so many nice things out there in the world. So try and automate and just say, every single time I get £1, I'm always going to put 10p away. I'm not even going to think about it. Just make sure you get in the habit of just automating your savings. The third thing is, like I've just said, get a rate in your savings account, an interest rate that's equal to or higher than the rate of inflation. You might ask me, how do I know what the rate of inflation is? Google. Or if you go to the Bank of England, you can see it in there. Just say, what's the inflation rate in the UK right now? It will tell you what it is, and just make sure whatever your bank is giving you is equal to or higher than that amount. The other thing that's a good tip for saving effectively is to define whether you want to put the savings in an account that you can access or in an account that you cannot access. And this comes from knowing yourself. If you know that you're not really disciplined, you might want to put it in an account where you can't touch it for a year or for 2 years or for 3 years, and that will keep you disciplined. If you know that you can be disciplined, then maybe you might find a good rate and put it in an easy access account. But you need to work that out for yourself and do what's best for you. But those are tips to save effectively. And then the last thing is to always review your savings interests, because banks are very clever, and sometimes they'll change the rates, and they might tell you, but you might not. Sometimes they tell you, sometimes they don't. But you need to review it just to make sure that you're still getting a rate that's beating inflation. Yeah? And a quote that I've got here is, you cannot get wealthy by saving, but you can get wealthy by doing things with your savings. And we'll talk about that when we come to investing. The next point, which is the third point in the 7 that we're looking at, I need to run because time is going, is spending. So it's very natural for us to spend, or for us to when we get money, to want to buy the things that we want. And there's nothing wrong with spending. I really need to say that. There's nothing wrong with wanting nice things and spending. But there is a good way to spend, and there is a bad way to spend. Bad spending is the enemy of being wealthy. So having a goal and saying, I need to buy this, I have saved for it, this is the best price for it, I need this thing, that, there's nothing wrong with that. But if you're spending willy-nilly and just a person that doesn't have any boundaries, that's what's not good. So, and you need to also remember that it's not about what you earn, it's about what you keep and how you use the money that you keep. So again, 5 tips for saving effectively is defining your needs versus your wants clearly. And I usually tend to do this every month, where I'm like, okay, this month, this is what I need, and this is kind of a nice to have. The other thing that I do when I spend is I have a 24-hour rule, where if I really want something, not a need, I'm not going to wait 24 hours before I eat, or anything that I need. But for a want, I usually wait 24 hours. In that 24 hours, again, these are habits that I've been practicing since I was really young. So, and why I'm telling you now, so that you can get into the habit of doing this and being really smart with your money. So I have this thing where in the 24 hours, I get into a headspace where I'm like, can I be cheap with this thing or can I be frugal with it? Who can tell me what the difference is between being cheap and being frugal? You're answering all my questions today. I don't know what your name is. What's your name?
David.
Okay, David, go ahead.
So, being cheap is essentially like saving money where you can without really compromising on the overall, I think, quality of what you're getting. Being frugal is, if I can sacrifice a bit of quality just to make sure that I have more money left for other things that I might want or need, well, that would be my main goal. So I think that's the main difference.
Yes, that's a good answer. A little bit of a confusion on the frugal part, but I'll explain in a minute. Cheap versus frugal. Any adults want to help us or somebody else here? Why is it important? Okay, sir. There's somebody on that side. What's the difference between being cheap and frugal when it comes to spending?
My thinking right now is that cheap, you just do things gradual like that. You spend the money. But frugal, I think you want to be disciplined and see what can I do better. Should I just go and buy because I have the money?
Yes.
Or you think sensibly and you are intentional
Yes.
about what you want to spend on, whether it will
Amazing.
bring result or something.
Yes, thank you very much, sir. It's really good answers. When it comes to spending and what I practice, you don't have to take what I say, but this is what I do, and it's worked for me and the people that I've told. Some people would say, okay, I need a pair of shoes. We're talking about needs and wants, right? I need a pair of shoes. I've got some money now. I'm going to buy the cheapest shoes that I can find, right? Why would you do that to yourself, first of all? They will hurt your feet. They're not going to last long. But because you just want to spend, you go and buy a pair of cheap shoes and you spend that money. You're probably going to need to buy another pair of shoes in a couple of months, right? Being frugal, and is what I advise, is I need a pair of shoes. I know that I can get these pair of shoes, but they're expensive right now. But I'm trying to be frugal. So I will get the highest quality of these shoes, but at the cheapest price. So that's where you introduce quality. And as young people, it's so important for you to know about buying, wearing, eating. Just be a person of good quality. Cheap does not look good on you, will not look good on you, right? So when you're frugal, that's when you go on websites and say, okay, these pair of shoes that I really want are cheaper here. So remember, you're not compromising on the quality, but you're taking that time to make sure you're getting the best quality thing at the lowest price. It might mean that you might have to wait until there is a sale. It might mean that you might buy it from somewhere else, but it's really important for you to be frugal and not compromise on quality because you're being cheap. It would serve you when you're older and you realize all those cheap shoes, they hurt your feet when you're older, your feet, they bend, cheap clothing, this not good for you. So really, really good to be frugal, know how to compare prices, know where to get things, good quality things at lower prices, know how to delay wanting things maybe until Christmas or when they're good sales and you know that you can buy good quality things for a really low price. So that is one tip when it comes to spending, is know how to be frugal, know how to get good things for a low price, and try as much as possible not to be a cheap person. The other tip is to live by a budget and also to review your purchases monthly. So tips for spending effectively: know your needs versus your wants. Wait for 24 hours before you buy something that you want, not a need. Live by a budget. Be frugal, don't be cheap, and review your purchases monthly. Okay? I'm going to run through these really quickly so that we can have time for questions. The next point in the 7 ways that you can be intentional with your money as young people is to invest. Quick question. What is the difference between saving and investing? David, you again. Oh, wait, let me see if somebody's going to answer, and then I'll come to you. Really good. 1 second.
Isn't investing when you put it in the bank?
Say again?
Isn't investing when you put it in the bank?
When you put it into a bank? Yeah. You could invest with a bank, yes, thank you. What's the difference between saving and investing? Oh, there's someone here in the front. Thank you very much. That's a really good answer.
When you save, you do it with a constant rate, but when you invest, it's based on the profit that you're putting the money. Like, it's based on how well the business that you're putting the money into does.
Yes. So the rate could be 10
higher.
times even.
Yeah.
Yeah. Good answer. That's another good answer. What's the difference between saving and invest? Okay, David.
Sorry, can you pass it on?
Saving versus investing.
I will say I got the last one wrong, so I need to be careful with this one. So, saving, I think, is like when you make sure that either your money, you put it in an account, and in the account you do one of a few things with it. You can make sure that the money increases. You can keep it safe from like inflation, as you've said. There's a lot of things. Investing, what I understand from investing is like, you know, you're almost betting on the success of like a company, a startup, anything. And you know how in adverts they say the value of your investments can go up or down.
Yes.
It's a bit less safe than saving, but if you do get a good investment and like the company you're investing in or whatever you're investing in does well, then the rewards can be a lot higher than if you keep it in, even say a biscuits account where the saving interest is much higher. Yeah. So yeah, that's what I think is the difference.
Good. The really important point there is about the safety of the money that you put in. Really good answer. Did somebody else want to answer? Difference between saving and investing. Any other answers? Okay.
Saving is where you like aim to put money aside, and investing is like where you aim to grow your money.
Yes, that is such a great answer. Thank you very much. Anybody else? You guys have answered. You've given all the points. There's somebody at the back. Thank you.
With savings, it could stay at a constant rate. Like, you could stop gaining money and your savings can stay the same. But with investing, you put in money and you can get more or come back with less.
Yes, it can go up or down. Amazing. Thank you so much. That's really, really, really good answers. Saving, the first thing that I would add is saving is short term. So you save money for things that you want to spend. My recommendation is in 12 months is when you save. But investing and the mindset of investing has to be for the long run. So when you want to invest, you really need to be thinking minimum like 10 years, 15 years, 20, like a long time. Because it takes time for your investments to grow unless you're investing in something different, like maybe a startup or something like that, which could mature in a short space of time. But savings, ideally, is for short-term goals, and investing is for long-term goals. Saving is a lot safer, usually, because you know what your interest is going to be at the end of the term. Investing carries a lot more risk because your money could go up or down. And also, saving is a way where you can use your savings for like short-term goals. Similarly, investment, ideally, you want to go in for long-term. With savings as well, you don't really need a lot of knowledge. You can just put your money in a bank and know that your money is safe. With investing, you really need to know what you're investing in and make sure because there's a lot more risk, right? So you really need to do a lot to young people. You can't think of any? Yes, you can. Yeah. Yes, you can. You can invest in commodities like gold and silver. Sometimes you have to do it, especially if you're using a company via your parents. But there are custodian accounts. How old is she now? 2-month-old baby is invested in some gold at the moment via my account, but it's in her name. So you can definitely be investing as young people. I can definitely be investing as young people. I can invest in your business, right? So even as young people, you can invest in each other's businesses, do a lot of research, and make sure you cover yourself. We'll talk about protection. But there's so many things that are open to you. You can also be investing in premium bonds. Who's heard of premium bonds before? NS&I, have you heard of that company? So it's a government-backed scheme where you can invest, and a lot of the young people I look after actually have NS&I accounts. It's called National Savings and Investments, and you open an account with £25, and every month you get put into a draw. The top prize in the draw is £1 million, and there are people that have won that money because there's a whole list of winners online, and you can go and check them. But every single month you get put into a draw with a chance of winning £1 million, but then it goes all the way down. I think the smallest prize you can get is £25. And that is very, very low risk because it's a government-backed scheme. So it's not like a person that's going to run away with your money. And one thing that I really encourage all young people to have is an NS&I account, because literally most people, right, have £25 that they can put into that. And the longer you leave it, the more chances you have of actually being put into the draw. It's not an interest rate, so your money isn't growing via interest every month, but it's more like a lottery scheme where you can put money in and get a chance of winning quite big. So that's another way that young people can invest. The 5 tips that I've put here for investing well as young people is start now. So how many people here have investments of any kind? Yeah, ISA, that's in it. As long as you're doing something with the account. If you just have money sitting in an ISA, yes, and it's invested in something else. Because remember what we've said when we talked about saving, leaving money in an account that's not doing anything, it's not doing anything. So wherever you've got money, that money needs to be doing something for you in order for it to grow. So we'll start again. How many people have investments now? 3 people. Okay, so my challenge to you all is to do some research, but talk to your parents and try and start some kind of investing. Remember, we started by saying that your biggest tool right now is your time. So if you're not using your time to maximize your chances of getting money and winning these monies, even if it's in the NS&I account, that's really just a disservice because you don't have to do anything, right? So I'm going to challenge you to think about things that you can invest in and make sure that as young people right now, you are having really good investments. My time is very fast spent, so I'm trying to think. The other thing I would say about investing is you really need to be stoic as young people. It's a habit that you're going to need with your money. Who knows what stoic means or what it means to be stoic? Oh yeah, there's someone here.
Doesn't it mean to be like stubborn, but like in the emotional way?
Yes, it does. Stubborn sounds a bit harsh, but yes, I know what you mean. Anybody else knows what it means to be stoic? Go on. Yeah. You can go ahead. I think we can hear you.
I would say like it means to stoicism in the simplest sense is kind of if something goes wrong, you're not like easily phased by it.
Yes.
So like in the context of investments, we could take that to mean like if say your money gets lost,
yes.
you know, you're not too affected by that.
Yes,
like,
absolutely.
You know, you just learn from that and learn, oh, maybe I need to put less money in next time, or I need to invest in something that I know it's going to be a bit more successful, etc.
Amazing. Thank you very much. And this is a really good point. I've skipped a few things, but this one's really important, right? Because if you're going to save and be really good with your money and invest and all these amazing things that we're saying, stoicism is when you're not overly emotional when things don't go your way. And I know that's something that a lot of young people don't have because you build that over time. But it's really important for you to start to practice when things don't go your way, when the interest rate goes down, when something happens with your money, you do not need to have a meltdown. I'm rounding up. I am rounding up. You don't need to have a meltdown. So really practice making sure that you're saving and investing only things that you can afford to lose or to bounce back from. And on this point, I'm going to give a fun fact of Warren Buffett. Who's heard of Warren Buffett before? The really great investor man. Oh, amazing. So he started investing at the age of 11. And he's now 95 years old. And now worth $150 billion. And so you can imagine someone who's been investing since they were 11. He's had many, many, many years of things not going his way, things going his way. But it's worked. He's not had any other job other than investing all of this time. And he's now worth a really, really good amount of money. So it's really important for you to start young, benefit from compounding, but really, really be mindful of your emotions and how you react to money. Money should not control you, especially as children of God. You really need to have a good attitude about earning money, spending money, and when you're investing your money as well. So before we go into Q&A, the last thing I really wanted to mention is protection. Because a lot of young people, I know I'm being fought now. I'm finishing, the laptop is closed. But it's a really important point because nowadays a lot of young people are coming into money, either from social media, how you can earn, and all of these really great things. But many people lose it because they don't know how to protect it. So it's really important as young people to know how to protect your money. One of the very simple things that you can all do is learn how to read contracts. Learn what APR means. Learn what AER means. Learn what interest rates mean. Learn what compounding means. Know financial terminology. You can learn a new word every week or every day and make sure that you really understand contracts so that when you come into really great opportunities that I'm sure you'll all come into, you are making sure that you are protecting yourself and protecting your money. The other aspect of protection is making sure your personal details are never shared with anyone. So you're all on social media, I think, things like your date of birth, where you live, your full name as it appears on your passport, username and password details. Those things aren't things that are just readily available or easily guessed by other people. These are ways that when you're earning money, you're making sure you're protecting it and it's not easily stolen from you. So I really hope these have helped you. In terms of very practical ways that you can be intentional about your money and hopefully start to have good habits on your way to being very, very wealthy young people. So we've got a few minutes now for Q&A. So if you've got any questions, now's your time to ask and we'll go one at a time. Do you want to moderate?
Yes, okay. I guess I might actually go around and move the mic. But yeah, guys.
Was that helpful? Did you guys learn anything?
Even we did.
Thank you. Oh, you have a question?
Yeah.
Thank you.
How many investments can you have, or how many ISAs are you allowed to have?
So the ISAs work via a limit, a financial limit every year. So this year, for example, it's £20,000. Yeah. So you can have, ideally you should only have one, because the more things you have, the more they're likely to just go awry. But they work via limits, so you can invest in whatever you want, but make sure you don't go over the limit of £20,000.
But you can have more, like an ISA, another investment platform.
Yeah, you can. I don't recommend having too many investments because by nature of investing, you need to specialize in a field. So you need to learn about a particular industry or a particular stock or a particular ETF or whatever, gold or silver. So ideally, you should try and narrow down, but diversification in investing is good. So you can say, for example, have some money in your ISA, you can have some in maybe some gold, you can have some in property, that kind of thing. You're diversifying across different industries, but not having one thing in different places. That just is not very helpful. But Yes. Any other questions?
How do you know when to move from a 9 to 5 job to then being like, a CEO or starting with, ownership?
That's an amazing question. So, did everyone hear the question?
How do you know when to move from a 9 to 5 job to then being a CEO or moving into ownership?
Okay, good question. I can only tell you what I did and things that I would recommend. So ideally, you want to start something whilst you've got a 9 to 5 job, right? So you're not leaving one for the other because you need to pay bills. So if you start with, say, your business whilst you've got a 9 to 5 job, at least you've got a salary to cover your bills and to save and do things. When your business is earning the same or more than what you would have earned in your 9 to 5, then you can leave one and go to the other. Or when you get maybe an investment opportunity or something that's just really going to grow your business as opposed to your 9 to 5, then you can leave one for the other. That's one tip that I would say. Or when it becomes financially viable to do that, for me, via tax. So if you're being taxed heavily, for example, in your 9 to 5, and you've got a business that's more tax efficient, you might put your time in that. So they're different things, but I would say when you're earning enough or more than what you would earn in your 9 to 5, then you might as well just run your business full time. There's a question here.
What should I do when interest rates go up and then the bank is no longer profitable and banks charge me for leaving in the middle of an ISA?
Ooh, that's an interesting question. A bank's charging you for closing your account, for closing your ISA account. Why? Because you're taking the money out before the end of the year. Then you wait till the end of the year. You wait till the end of the year, or you work out, actually, there's something called opportunity cost. Complex term, but it's really simple. So if taking the money out of that account is going to be better for you because you can get a higher rate somewhere else, then you need to leave what's not serving you and get something that's serving you. Or if you can afford to, like if it's say January and you know the end of the financial year is coming up really soon, you might as well just wait till the end of the term and then go into another ISA. Remember, that's what I said about protection, is knowing about contracts, right? So if you put your money in an ISA, you need to remember that you're locking in that money for the year, for the financial year, right? So that's April to April. So you need to bear in mind, okay, that money is locked away from one April to the other April and just leave it there. But if you get a higher rate and you're like, I'm happy to lose my interest for 3 months because I'm going to get it back or double it in another account, then you can leave. That's also wise to do that. Any other questions?
No,
David, did you have one? No, I did not. Okay. Oh, there's somebody here.
What are the ways you make money, and do you get a lot of money from them?
Me personally? Yeah. So I diversify my income. I do consulting. So I'm an accountant by training, and I do consulting for accounting. I also teach financial literacy to children. I have classes in the summer and in October half term. I write books as well that are on Amazon, and I sell those as well. I bake cakes as well, healthy cakes as well. And these days, I'm trying to start other things. So, I have property income as well from properties that I let out. And now I'm trying to create other sources of income. So my belief is in diversification, doing lots of things as much as possible. I'm on maternity leave now, so I'm not doing a lot right now. But I have lots of things that I do. And the income is varied across both of them. So for me, my highest income stream is my consulting, because I can charge for that by the day or by the hour. The financial literacy stuff I do for children, like what I'm doing now, for the most part, I do for free, or it's very minimal because I can't charge young people that much. But I put books out there as well. I have resources, I have templates online, I have lots of different things that I do. I started a TikTok account as well, like trying to do all the things. I think it's called Angie, Your Money Auntie, or something like that. But I just started that as well. I've got Instagram and all the things. But from this end, that's not my highest kind of money making. I would say it's the consulting, and then maybe property, and then maybe my cakes, and then maybe financial literacy for children. But this part is the one I enjoy the most. So I'm not doing it. And this is the other thing. You don't have to do everything for money, right? There's some things that God has put on your heart to do. And there's some other things you need to pay the bills, so you do other things as well. So that's my income stream. Oh, there's a question at the back.
For the junior ISA,
yeah,
you know there's the normal one, the stocks and shares. Can you put money in the same, with the limit? I know the limit is lower than the 20K. Can you put in both accounts the same year, or do you have to do one year and the other another year? Does that make sense?
So like to hit the limit?
No, within the same financial year, for example, can you use the same both accounts, or do you have to just do one account for the
You
junior
can use
ISA?
as many accounts as you want.
No.
Some people have two different.
Yeah. Yeah, I just want to say, can you put, you know, for the adults, you said we can multiple account in the same financial year. Is that the same for the junior one as well?
Is
Okay.
the target is the amount.
Even if it's a stock and shares and a normal one?
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, that's what I'm doing, and my accountant hasn't said it's a bad thing. As long as I don't go over the limit. He's not held me up. So verify, but that's what I'm doing. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Yep.
Why do governments like putting a cap on the amount of money we're allowed to put into ISAs?
How should she control?
They like to control. Actually, to be honest, I'll ask you a question back. What is the job of a government, and what is your job? Well, the job of the government is to help the people, as long as it's not helping them, right? So they're trying to help themselves first before they can help you. So what you then need to do with those limits is make sure you're clever with those limits. Is making sure you're putting money into different things so that you're not trapped by one limit on the ISA. If you've got all of your money, or you've maxed out the ISA, then maybe you can buy something else. Maybe you can learn about buying vintage trainers or whatever and selling and having that as other business. Maybe you can invest in your friend's business. Maybe you can do this. So you need to also try to outsmart the government's limits. And the very best way to do that is by praying. Jesus can teach you a lot of things. I'm not going to tell you, but you can, once you pray to God, he will give you a lot of ideas on how to outsmart some of these things. That's my hint.
Okay, thank you so much. Thank you so much for that. That was very empowering. It's definitely taught me to manage my finances a little bit better. But are we going to now have a comfort break or? Okay, yeah. So comfort break, 5 minutes, and then we'll be back for the panelists. They said it's finished. Yes. They said it's finished. Yes.
You want to drink or you just
They said it's finished. Yes.
you want to drink or you I suppose I'll leave you to look for you. What? What's up with you?
So, welcome back everyone. I hope you're feeling comfortable and ready for our second session, which is our panelist discussion. So, our panelists are inspiring young adults in diverse industries who have been invited. Alright, so welcome back everyone. I hope you're feeling comfortable and ready for our second session, which is our panelist discussion. They will introduce themselves as part of our first question. Come up and come to run. Alright, so welcome back everyone. I hope you're feeling comfortable and ready for our second session, which is our panelist discussion. Themselves as part of our first question. Okay, so to begin, let's start with normal introductions that have who you guys are, what you do, and maybe some of your work. So, they will introduce themselves. Hello, my name is Terry. I am a freelance artist and facilitator. I trained as an actor at the Birmingham Academy of Dramatic Arts. I graduated a couple years ago, and since leaving drama school, I've done a lot of teaching, a lot of facilitating, a lot of coaching. I write as well. I do a lot of work in the creative industry, and I'm really interested in working in socially applied settings. That's a lot of young people. I work with autistic and disabled adults, learning disabled adults, with this amazing charity called Accessible Areas, and hobbies-wise, again, lots of creative things. I like to sew. I like, just creative things in general.
Hey guys. And before we start, any Arsenal fans in the building? Amazing. My name's Anemi. I'm head of resourcing at Empower Consulting, local government, adult social care. We provide resource to local councils in that capacity. Hobbies, gym, and watching my beloved Arsenal. I suppose my trajectory, my story is studied law, went to law school, decided it wasn't for me, and I found my way into like the path I am in now. So just be resilient and be yourself, and find your way. And yeah.
So hi everyone, my name is Joy, and I'm the manager at Deloitte, which if you don't know what that is a global company that provides professional services in lots of different industries. A little bit about me, so I am a co-pastor for RCCG in Northfleet, City of His Grace. For hobbies, I like to go hiking, I love travelling, I like dancing with my friends and my loved ones. And in terms of my story and a bit of my background, so I studied philosophy, politics and economics for my undergraduate degree at the University of Warwick. I took a gap year after university because I wasn't quite ready for adulthood. And then after I finished my gap year, I started on a graduate scheme at Deloitte, which is the company I'm still at now. I actually started off in the world of operations consulting, which is basically around advising companies on how to improve their internal ways of working. But I wanted to get a bit closer to technology. So in 2022, I took a career sabbatical and went to go study my master's in applied artificial intelligence. During my master's, ChatGPT was actually released and the world went a little bit AI crazy. So when I finished my master's and came back into consulting, that really gave me the opportunity to specialize. And so that's what I do in my day-to-day job, is working with companies on their AI strategy, their data governance strategy, just the full kind of vertical for what AI means for them and for the world at large. So that's a little bit about me. I'm really excited to be on this panel today with some really cool, interesting people, and hopefully, getting to know about what you guys want to learn from us too.
Hi, good afternoon, everybody. My name is Ola. I'm 25. I'm a bit younger than these guys. I'm a bit earlier in my career journey, but I'm a recent graduate of economics from the University of Essex. Right now, in terms of my hobbies and my passions, I'm a big football fan. You never walk alone. I liked my man until I liked my man until 2 minutes ago. He said he's an Arsenal fan. I'm a big football fan. I'm a big fan of holidays. I go on a lot of holidays. I'm a big gamer. And I post TikTok content as well every now and again when I have some free time. But I hope that what we say during this period of time can help you guys along your journey, and we hope we can be of some help. Thank you.
keep it. Okay, very, very inspiring stories. So let's begin with some actual questions. So between the ages of 12 and 19, did you know what you wanted to do in your life? And if you were uncertain, what helped you find that direction? So I guess you can go.
I'll start. I may as well. Between those ages, I had no idea. I'll be completely honest. Especially towards my younger years of secondary school, I had no idea. And it was only really when we did work experience. I think it was year 9 or year 10. It was only around then where I started to look at things. We were told a few months before, oh, you're going to do work experience in May. And I had no idea what to do. So I kind of rushed. I kind of panicked. I kind of chose random things, but I wasn't sure whether I would actually enjoy. I chose architecture and I chose banking for my 2 options for my work experience. And I liked banking. It was alright, but it wasn't really what I wanted to do in the future. Architecture, no chance. It was alright, but there was not enough money in it for me personally. There's different goals for different people. For me, one of my goals was I want to be able to make enough money while enjoying my passions, and architecture just didn't tick both those boxes. But I think that the main thing you need to do really is think early. You guys are still young, you still have resources at your disposal, and you still have opportunities to go and see the world without it costing you too much money. You have school, they offer work experience, you have teachers, you have friends, family, we can all offer you advice, we can all give you pathways you can pursue. And I think the main thing is use your youth. Your youth is the most powerful thing you have. People are going to say you have money, you have strength. Your youth is the most powerful thing you can have. Once you have youth, use that to your advantage. Go explore, find out who you are, find out what you like, what your passions are, and use that to pursue your career path and to pursue your future. I wish I chose different things at the time. It worked out for me because I found out the financial services industry was right for me personally through banking, but I got lucky in that respect. If you do your work experience and you don't like either things you do, you might be stuck in a sticky situation. So definitely look at things before you get to that stage, if you can. And if you're already after that stage, you still have time, you still have resources at your disposal that you can use. Use those and, again, see who you are and use that to pursue your future.
So I think the answer to that question for me is slightly different. Growing up when I was younger, people used to tell me that I should be a lawyer when I grow up because I talk too much. So I think for a really long time I actually thought, oh, well, I'm sure law will be interesting. I'm really passionate about social issues, justice, so that kind of felt like it would be a good fit. But then I think when I got to like 13, 14, I started to think about what actually aligns with me, because I was someone who really enjoyed school, but I only enjoyed it when it was the subjects that I liked. I can get good grades even if I don't like the subject, but it just feels like a drag. So I really started to do things like personality quizzes to try and figure out where my strengths lie. And I just started to get a bit of a better picture of who I am as a person, what I enjoy, where my strengths are, where my weaknesses are. And one day, I think I was like 14, I Googled what some of the highest paying careers are in the UK, because one thing I needed from my job was to make good money. And so that was something that I had to kind of be on the track for. And I kind of looked through the list of options. You know, there's doctors, there's engineers, there's entrepreneurs. And I also looked into what the implications of those jobs were. Like, what does it actually look like day to day? What are the strengths you need just innately to kind of fit in that job and enjoy it? What are some of the weaknesses to be aware of? What are some of the disadvantages? And that was the first time I stumbled upon something called management consulting. I'd never heard of it before. I didn't know anyone who worked in that industry. But just given the kind of brain that I have, the personality I have, the things that I enjoy doing, I felt like it would be a good fit for me. So it wasn't the case that I had like this is now the absolute thing I want to do with my life, but it gave me a North Star for a sense of direction. So when I was picking my GCSEs, when I was picking my A-levels, when I picked my university degree, everything was in alignment with, you know, when I get to adulthood and I need to start thinking about work, does this path that I followed give me that as a potential option to go down? And so that's kind of what shaped the trajectory. I am now a management consultant, and I do really enjoy my job, and I've had a great, I think, 6-7 years, you know, working at Deloitte. So I think 16-year-old me would be pretty happy that I'm here, but I would definitely say that it was more of a case of just giving myself a rough path to walk down as opposed to knowing exactly what I wanted to do. Very inspiring. I could definitely relate to that a bit.
So, 12 to 19, what was I doing between those ages? So 12 to 16, I was playing football at a high level, so wanted to become a professional footballer. When I got to 16, got the chance to go to Turkey and go for trials. So I was still on that trajectory of football. Everything in my life was football. I wasn't thinking about anything else. And then it got to the time where didn't make some of the teams, didn't make the cut, and then I had to withdraw and think, what's next? And that's when I stumbled upon, in my last A2, second year of college, I was like, I want to do law. Not because I'm someone that likes to talk a lot, but I just thought it was good for a career. I had family members that were solicitors, so it was easy enough to get advice to go on to law and have that trajectory in my life. So yeah, went into uni and studied law, and put football in the past. But sometimes I think, what if I was, and I suppose I'm going to use this word a lot, and I always say this, you guys have to be resilient. Don't let anybody tell you you can't do anything. That's what someone told me when I was 18. Go and study law, forget about football. But in my mind, I should have gone, and I could do both. So that's one thing I'll say to you guys. You're at a good age. You have all the outlets. You have AI. You have everything. You have loving parents. You have loving friends. I grew up in an environment where I lost my mum at a young age to cancer. So I was 18. I had to look after a 15-year-old brother. So there was a lot of stuff that we had to navigate, and I had to navigate growing up in inner London, in Hackney, if you guys know where Hackney is. So you guys have a lot of outlets that I didn't have when I was your age. So please be resilient and never let anyone tell you you can't do anything. Just go full head of steam. And right now, as Dene will know, I work in a difficult business where there's a lot of, at the top, there's a lot of arguments, there's a lot of politics, but I stay true to myself, and I'm the head of my department in a very, I suppose, white-centric company. So be resilient, be yourself, and never let anyone tell you can't do anything, especially between those ages of 12 to 19.
So when I was 12, I really wanted to be an Olympic athlete. I did a lot of sports, and I was convinced I was going to go to the Olympics. I did 100 meter sprinting, and that was the big thing. And then around maybe 14 or 15, similar to what Doyen was saying about the actual day-to-day lifestyle, I realised that the lifestyle of an athlete was very insular. It's quite lonely. I was part of the Medway Sporting Academy, and when I was on the track practicing, it was just me, it was my coach, it was very isolating, whereas I like being with people. And so I thought, okay, the life of an athlete isn't actually the life that I want to live. Also, it was quite difficult in that you either win or you don't win. There's nobody wants second place, nobody wants third place, everyone wants that gold. And for me, that felt like a really, really difficult thing to live the whole rest of my life based on. I'm only happy if I'm getting the gold. I needed something more. Similar to Doyen as well, I got told that I talked a lot, so I should become a lawyer, and I wanted to make money, so I thought, okay, cool, that's what I'll do. And then we went on a school trip to the Royal Courts of Justice when I was maybe 15 or 16, and it was probably the most boring place I've ever been to in my life, and I very quickly realised, okay, this isn't for me. And on a whim, I decided on the last day of being able to pick our options, I was down to do geography, and again, thought geography is quite boring, I don't actually enjoy doing this. And so last minute I just switched to drama because it was just the most fun subject for me. And from there I did the National Youth Theatre, and that was when I realised, okay, creative careers actually exist and I could potentially pursue it. And yeah, that was sort of a turning point for me. So I did MIT when I was 16, and from there, 16 to 19, I was then always looking for opportunities, free schemes. Most of them were in London, so I'd get the train up and do masterclasses and workshops, anything I could get my hands on really, because there's not really much in Chatham. And yeah, I was really, from then on, determined to pursue some sort of creative career, because the subjectivity of it, the uncertainty of it really appealed to me. I was a very academic kid, very sporty kid, and that sort of binary black and white, win-lose, I didn't want to live my whole life based on that. So that's when I decided to pursue acting, pursue creative careers, and I haven't looked back.
A lot of great commentaries, a lot that I actually related to. But we'll go on to our next question. So, looking back on your teenage years, what experiences, decisions, or mindsets shaped the person that you are today? And what is one thing you wish you had given more attention to when you were younger? So,
Can you read it again, please?
okay, so looking back on your teenage years, what experiences, decisions, or mindsets shaped the person that you are today? And what is one thing that you wish you had given more attention to when you were younger?
Thank you. I feel like something that really shaped who I am today was the belief that I can really do anything I wanted to. I think being a really academic kid, I was used to getting a lot of praise and I was celebrated a lot, and that really boosted my confidence. And so I just sort of had this unshakable faith that I would just be successful. Like, nothing fazed me. Even if something went a bit wrong, I had that resilience because I had, I guess, all that history of being boosted up and being celebrated and being supported. And so I always felt very confident, whether that was in interview situations or auditions. Even if I didn't get the job or even if I didn't book the role, I still felt very confident and just knew there was just a faith and trust there. So I think that definitely has shaped who I am today. And I think similar to what you were saying about not listening to voices or doubters or people saying that you can't do something, I sort of wish I'd paid less attention to people, just saying, I guess, other people's fears. With creative careers, they're very, very uncertain, and I don't know about your parents, but my parents were very scared for me and wanted a very particular route for me. And so there were a lot of years that I listened to a lot of people's fears and doubts, and there were a lot of people saying, okay, you just can't do that, and they just didn't have that belief. And so I wish I'd spent less time listening to those and more time just actually training and upskilling in those areas that I wanted to. Because, if I'd started then, if I'd started when I was your age, things could potentially look different now.
Could you read the question one more time,
Yes,
please?
I can.
Thank you.
Looking back on your teenage years, what experiences, decisions, or mindsets shaped the person that you are today? And what is one thing that you wish you had given more attention to when you were young?
And again, I feel there's always going to be doubters. It could come from friends and family. It could come from a random on the street. But one thing, when I got into, I suppose, when I turned 20, 21, and I knew, okay, I'm studying law now and having to work on the side as well, I knew just pushing through and making sure I don't listen to those doubters, because I have someone that I have to look after. I have to look after myself and I have to look after him, and I still have to make a success of things. So I would say one thing that shaped me is just my resilience, and always be proactive, always ask questions. It doesn't matter how silly it is. I know some of you guys probably, when we finish this, you're going to be asking us some questions, and some of them in your mind you may think, I might not want to ask that because it's silly. That's not my mindset. It doesn't matter how silly the question is, someone will have an answer to it. And if they don't, they're a hypocrite themselves, because they ask silly questions as well. So be proactive, ask the silly questions, ask every question, and be resilient.
So I would say that for me, a mindset that shaped me when I was young, and I think it's definitely still with me today, is something that my parents taught me, which is that no season is forever. So everything, every single time comes to an end. And when I was in school, when I was young, that was just, my dad just drilling into my head the fact that, you've got these 7 years, and when they're done, and that's it. So this is your choice, this is your moment. You choose if you're going to focus and lock in and get the best you can, because the next stage is coming, whether or not you're ready for it. And I think that's a mindset that is definitely still with me today, because when you approach life in that way, I think it breeds a spirit of excellence. It says, I only have a certain amount of time to get this thing done, so I need to do it to the best of my ability. And that was something that carried me through school, when the exams are tough, when I'm tired, when it's boring. It's just a reminder that, okay, let's look at the calendar. In, August 2015, I'm going to literally be done with secondary school, and I'll be looking at the next stage of life. So we can sit down and do a little calculation for how many months and how many days that is, but this season is going to come to an end. And that's definitely something that has still stuck with me to this day, I would say.
Mine is fairly similar to my two colleagues over here. I would say time doesn't stop for anybody is the main thing that I realized. But I realized it a bit too late. I realized it only at university level. In school and stuff, time does not stop. You have only a few years at school, a few years in sixth form, and you need to use that time wisely. You can never stop learning. You can never stop asking questions. You can never stop improving yourself. You can't stay stagnant for too long. Otherwise, the world will keep going and you'll stay a few weeks, few years back. And that's one thing I wish I'd learned a lot sooner. I stopped asking questions, and I'll mention it a bit later as well. I stopped asking questions, I stopped improving, and I got too stagnant in my A-level period. And I built on that at a later date, but I'll talk about it a bit later. So the one thing I would say is don't stop improving, don't stop asking questions, don't stop moving. Always keep moving, always keep improving, and that way you'll find where you're meant to be a lot sooner.
Well done. Okay, now we're just going to get into individual questions. So since you have the mic, we're going to start with you, Ola. So my question is to you. Hold on. With a focus on your path from university to your first graduate role, what were the biggest obstacles or setbacks that you faced during that process, and how did you overcome them?
So I would say the biggest setback for me during university was COVID. I went to university 2019 to 2023, so 2 years of that was taken up by COVID. And it was really hard to stay motivated during those 2 years. As you can imagine, as a home, I was waking up at 9 o'clock to stand into my lectures, then going back to bed afterwards. It was a very dark period for most university students. And it was really hard to stay motivated, but I think the main thing really that kept me going through it was my goal. I mentioned a bit earlier that during A-levels, I didn't do as well as I wanted to do. I kind of fumbled my A-level exams, and I didn't get a grade I wanted to in the end. So it became really important for me to redeem myself during my university period. And because of this, I kept a goal in mind. I wanted to redeem myself. I wanted to redeem myself to myself and to my parents, because they put a lot of belief in me to go to university and to do everything that they've done to give me those opportunities. So I looked at university as a way to redeem myself. And I kept that goal in mind throughout the whole 4 years I was there, throughout COVID. I never wavered on my passion to get the good grade I got at university, and that was really what got me through it. It was hard at times because obviously during COVID you're at home, you don't have to do anything. If you don't go to lectures, no one's gonna stop you. No one's gonna call you and be like, oh, you can't come to university anymore because you didn't go to that lecture or that lecture. But at the end of the day, you have to keep a goal in mind. You have to keep your passion in mind, and that will keep you going until the end of university, and that's when you'll get a diploma and everything will be worth it.
Okay. What's it called? Doi, can we have? Right, my question for you is, looking back, what is one lesson or habit you wish you had developed earlier in your career?
Yes. I definitely wish I had learned how to shape and have harder boundaries. Consulting as an industry can be really demanding. We have to deal with client deadlines, the deliverables, and as well as like your client work, especially in like, Big Four environments. Big Four is a term for like the 4 largest professional services companies in the world. And they're kind of just known to be really tough and challenging corporate environments. And so there's lots of internal kind of deadlines and tasks that you need to do just to balance your career, We have like yearly talent reviews. We also do like mid-year talent reviews. You have a people leader who monitors your performance. You have to do like business development activities to help the company make money. You have to do practice development to help us be a better organization. There is a lot of plates that you are expected to spin in this career. And I think when I first joined the company, you know, I wanted to do well. I wanted to be a high performer. And that just meant, I think, doing too many things all at once, but also just not realizing that, you know, if something is too much, the expectation and the requirement is not that you kind of bend and break your back in order to deliver it. You actually should be speaking up and saying, oh, by the way, like, I have this other thing that's a competing requirement, so I'm gonna need you to either give this task to someone else, or I'm gonna have to get it to you next week. And so having those conversations around boundaries and what's feasible when it comes to my own time management, so that I can have a better work-life balance, so that I can look after my own personal well-being, that is something that I am definitely much better at now than I was when I first started my career.
All right, my question for Onemi. Yay. Okay, perfect. So, what common attitudes or early mistakes hold young professionals back from reaching their potential? No worries.
Split up.
Okay, so what common attitudes or early mistakes hold young professionals back when reaching their potential?
Giving up too early. I had a gentleman, I think yes, the guy in the stripy shirt. Oh, you look, yeah. I heard you, like, you're selling stuff online on Vinted and doing other things and just different streams, different work streams. My brother, keep going, keep doing it. Sometimes it might get tight, you might be tired and be like, oh my gosh, I have to post another JD Sports Nike t-shirt or something. Keep doing it. Keep doing it. Don't you're a young age and you're doing something at a young age that a lot of people didn't have the mindset and the wherewithal to be doing. I can, for free, when I was your age, I was not thinking about like selling stuff or making money or what we've got going on here. So please just, I would say don't give up. School, projects that you're doing, stuff that's making you money, keep going on and keep doing it. I would say another thing is, if you're on a trajectory or something and you pick something and it, like for me it was football. Don't let the naysayers, like you were saying, don't let other voices come into your head saying, oh, you're rubbish at this, or you didn't do something great in your class, or you might have failed a test as part of your A levels, or anything to do with anything of failure. Keep trying, get back on the horse and keep riding it, basically. Just keep going and you'll get there in the end. Sometimes it might not look like what you want it to look like, but once you're there, you will build it and people will build around you. And once you keep doing it, friends and family will say, oh my gosh, you were 16 and now you're 18 and you're still doing the same thing. That could be seen as a negative. But in your mind, you kept going at it and you kept believing in yourself. So please just believe in yourself and just keep on that same trajectory and don't let the naysayers like come into your head.
Linking onto obviously what you just said about how like you shouldn't let people get in your head and make you think that you shouldn't like go through a pathway, is what's going to be relating to your question. So what advice would you give a young person here who wants to follow an unconventional path but fears disappointing others?
Yeah, just do it. That's a like simple nutshell. It can be so easy when we've got people that we love and we really care about that have poured so much into us, invested so much into us, probably like most like your parents. Yeah, it can be easy to want to please them, to give them what they want, but it's not their life. It takes a lot of courage, but I would absolutely encourage all of you, disappoint them. If that's what it will take for you to actually fulfill your dreams and move forward with what you feel like God has put on your heart and what you know is where you want to be. Like, you can't let them get into your minds, because yeah, as much as they think they know what's best for you, they're not going to be the ones sitting the exams. They're not going to be the ones actually doing it. It's your life. And I think it's very easy to, you sort of get into a position where you want to please other people, and so you want to do the things that like make your parents happy or whatever, and then you yourself end up unhappy, you yourself end up disappointing yourself, and then you not only resent the life that you're living, but you resent the people that you're trying to please in the first place, and it just, yeah, things can get very messy there. And I will say as well, it's similar to what Dorian was saying about seasons and things being temporary. You might feel like you're disappointing them or letting people down in the moment, but they can come round. So for me, I was a really, really academic kid, and my dad was a really academic guy when he was at school, and he was a university lecturer, and he got a PhD, and he was this really, really intelligent man. And out of all my siblings, I was sort of the one that was expected to follow down that path. And then I turned around and said I wanted to be an actor, and it was like the craziest, like genuinely the craziest thing for them. Like, I guess for some context, in my GCSEs I got 9 9s, I got 2 8s. A-levels I got 3 A stars, and it was like, okay, cool, you're going to go to Oxford, you're going to do law. Like, it was expected. And then I turned around and I was like, I'm going to take a gap year, and at the end of that gap year, yeah, I want to be an actor. And so it made no sense to them, literally at all. And there'd be so many times at dinner where Dad would, he was like tearing his hair out, like, you know in the Bible where, like the kings in the Old Testament, like they would get really upset and they'd like rip their clothes and like tear out their hair. Like that was what my dad was doing, like tearing his garment levels of just distress, because it didn't make sense at all. But I remember at one of my third year shows at RADA, my dad got there and my family came to all the shows, and at the very, very last one he was like, oh, I get it now. And that was 4 years later. So it took all that time. And it was, I think the main thing is, our parents want the best for us, and a lot of it is fear. Like, they are not really disappointed, they're just projecting their own fears onto you, and they have an idea in their minds about what success looks like, or what security looks like, and that to them might look like going to uni and doing a very specific degree and going into a very specific line of work. Ultimately, they just want the best for you, and so oftentimes they are telling you to do certain things because they think that's, what will guarantee success and security for you. But ultimately, they do actually just want to see you joyful and happy. And now my dad says the complete opposite. He's like, we'll be speaking about work. I work, he works. Like, bills have to be paid, money needs to be made. And he's like, you're so lucky that you get paid doing what you like. As in, he's come completely full circle. Like, now he's the one complaining to me, like, work is so long today. Not everyone can be like you and just do what you want to do. I said, this is the same man that was, like, the grief that was on my back, the stress that I was under to just conform and sort of do what was very conventional and what was expected. Like, that pressure was so much. But I promise it's so worth it. And yeah, it's your life. And it's also down to us, I think, especially in our generation, it might be disappointing in this moment, but I think it's definitely worth it.
Oh, that was really good. Wow, a big thank you to my lovely panelists for taking time to share your diverse experiences and encourage us today. Your collective advice really highlights the value of being deliberate about how we build on our futures. Now it is time to bring it to the audience. So if you guys have any questions, feel free to ask them, maybe all of them. Hands up is what we would like to see. And yeah, I can give this mic around as well.
There's no such thing as a silly question, by the way.
Yeah. Okay, just speak loud. Would anybody like to ask any questions? Nobody has any questions?
You know, when it comes to picking a career at our age and how we have a tendency to be quite emotional, how do you know when the career you want to do is the career you're going to follow through in the long run?
I don't mind starting with that. I feel like, we feel really pressured at GCSEs, at A-levels to like pick the right thing and like have a whole 25-year plan, 10-year plan, whatever. But I think for me anyway, and in that moment, it's just do what you enjoy, do what you're good at, and see where it goes. Like, trust that God will lead you and guide you. You don't have to have every single thing figured out. And it's okay to be emotional if you're emotional about it. Like, you don't have to take your emotions out of it. Sometimes, yes, it's good to use logic when making decisions. But I think you can be guided by how you're feeling about something. Like, if you feel really, really strongly about a subject, whether that's positive or negative, if you feel if there's like a strong emotional reaction towards not wanting to do something, then just don't do it. I think take the pressure off yourself and see it as, yes, it's good to think long term, but I think, just go with what you enjoy, go with what you're good at, and the rest, I think, will unfold from there.
Also remember that people don't always stay in the same career for their whole life. People can have a job coming out of university and then change a year later into what they actually want to do. Me personally, the job I'm doing right now is not my long-term career at all. I don't like to call it a filler job because I like the job and it's taught me a lot of skills, but at the same time, it's not my long-term passion. The first job is rarely ever the job you're going to stay in for the rest of your life. People change jobs whenever they want to. I have a friend who's a bit older. I think she's 30-something, but I know in my current job. She came from a different industry completely, and she managed to transfer to this job with no stress, no worries, because she had transferable skills to bring to this job. So the first job you have, you don't have to stress. If you like it, perfect, you can continue with that. If you don't like it, you can always switch. You're never stuck in one place for the rest of your life. There are some caveats to that in terms of some industries where you need particular degrees, like law and things like that, where you need really particular degrees and qualifications. But for the large majority, the world is quite free, so you don't have to worry too much.
And I think just to kind of add to what they've both said, which is literally perfect, I think it's okay to accept that, your career is going to be flexible. It's not going to be a straight line where you're kind of just heading for a constant goal. One of the reasons why I wanted to go into consulting was actually because it would offer so much flexibility. And although I've been in one company since I left university, I feel like I've had 15 different careers because I have worked in public sector, private sector, financial services. I have worked with the variety of organizations that you could ever think of, and also doing different kinds of projects. I've done strategy, I've done tech delivery, I've done data governance design. It's been such a mismatch, and even within the organization I'm in, I'm quite different to how most people approach their careers because I bounce around different sections of consulting. I have a really vast network that cuts across our entire organization. I'm even in the process right now of transferring teams, and I moved teams I think 3 years ago, and I'm about to move into a brand new one because I'm just a really big believer, like Kerry said, that whatever is enjoyable to you right now, just follow that. Trust that God is leading you down the right path and follow your curiosity. That's what led me to go and do my master's before I think the whole world kind of caught on to AI as being the next big thing. And so just trust that God will place the right desires in you, and if you follow those things, then you'll be leading yourself down the right path.
I just add, just live in the moment. What you're doing what's right for you. Live in the moment. I always say, take time and reflect. It's always good to just sometimes take an hour, sit back in your room or whatever you're doing and reflect on what it is that you're doing. And this is right for me? It's not right for anybody else. Is this right for me?
Perfect. Just as a little add as well from my panelists, don't feel like you have to answer every question. Obviously, this is now kind of open to the audience. So if you feel you can answer it better than maybe the person next to you, then obviously you can answer. But if you all want to answer, that's also good.
So I think maybe all of you or a few of you mentioned a dark period in your life or grief during your career, I guess. I did. Is it on? So I think maybe all of you or a few of you mentioned a dark or a grief period in your life, during your way to your career. So how did you handle that, at your age or at that time?
Do you guys want me to repeat what she said? She basically said that a lot of you mentioned having a dark period or a grieving period within your journey through life, and she was basically asking how you tackled that, like alongside what they're doing? Or yeah, that's good. Okay, yeah, that's the question.
I can start off. Friends. I had a friend that had a similar lived experience, so I leaned on him a lot to say, like, how did you go through this process? Like, how was like the aftermath and so on and so forth. And like you said, but there's people with lived experience. So to answer your question, just ask people around you that are going through similar things that you're going through and get information from them. They could be younger, they can be older, but it's a lived experience and they've gone through it. So that, yeah, have them as your, I suppose, he was my springboard instead of me just, you know, just cuddling up and not doing anything about it. I used him as an outlet and he allowed me to like springboard and gain that resilience and carry on with my life and my career.
I would say that for me, when I've had to go through difficult times in life, my relationship with God has been just my saving grace, quite literally. I think one of the things I love so much about our Christian faith is how it's a personal relationship. And kind of like what you were saying, you know, around having the friends and the community around you. But for me, God is kind of that ultimate person. You know, I love my partner, I love my best friend, I love my family, I love my community of people around me. But there is no one else that can take the position of God in my life, because unlike all of those other people I've just listed, he actually knows the beginning from the end. He understands why certain things are happening. He understands what the future looks like. And so ultimately, I can trust in whatever he wants to put on my heart and whatever direction he wants to give me. And that's been a really, really big thing. So whether it was, you know, losing a parent or feeling really lost in my career or not getting the grades I wanted at certain times, just being able to trust God that you have a purpose for this, you have a reason for this, so I can just lean on you and trust you and just keep on going ahead. It's been a big difference.
So the main dark period I had in my career path was just after I graduated from uni. I graduated with a first class and I thought, first class degree, I'll find a job within 2-3 weeks and I'll be working a big city job, all that flashy stuff, right? And it generally is not that easy. It's the job market is right now a horror show, but I wish nothing but the easiest path for all of you. But I want you guys to understand that rejection is something you may face in the career world, but all the no's you might face, all it takes is one yes. It only takes one person to want to give you a chance. It only takes one person to think, oh, I like that guy, or I like that girl, they're really smart, I want her in my company. It only takes one yes throughout all the no's to get your career started. And through that, that's what got me through my months of job searching. That, and also, I think it was my mum, she told me that God has my job in his hands, and no one else will be able to take that job, is there waiting for me to take. So that got me through the months of job searching where I thought multiple times, this is pointless, I'm going to be here forever, but just don't worry, just think about the no's as the redirection, not rejection, redirection, to where you're meant to be. It only takes one yes, and when you get that yes, you'll be where you need to be.
Say that quote again.
Which one? Take no's as redirection, not rejection.
No, it's literally exactly what you've just said. Obviously, as an actor in creative careers, you do loads of auditions. I work on a freelance basis, so there's things aren't set in stone. So very similarly to you, after I graduated, there were loads of auditions, loads of things that I was going up for, and the job market is tough for graduates anyway, but it was difficult sort of adjusting your expectations to what you thought was going to happen, to then facing the reality of it. But I think what helped me was, obviously, as Dorian said, just our relationship with God is the best thing that we'll ever have. And so it's seeing his way, seeing his hand in things. And yeah, when things didn't go to plan or go according to the way that I wanted them to, sort of trying to see it from God's lens and seeing, okay, this is still a season. What is it teaching me? What's this lesson here for? And so much of the work that I do now, I wouldn't have done had I have gone straight into an acting job. So the teaching, the coaching, the facilitating, the writing that I do, I wouldn't have been able to pursue it and develop it in the way that I do now had things gone my way. So just, reframing and seeing exactly as you said, it's so good. It's so good, and it's so true. It's just being adaptable, allowing your path to shift, and just going along for the ride. With creative careers anyway, we're sort of taught that, rather than having we've got like what they call portfolio careers, where sort of everything that you do just sort of compounds and it all builds, and there's no sort of, it's not linear, so we're sort of prepared that things are going to take twists and turns, but just enjoying the journey. That has helped me in dark times, knowing that, okay, there is an end to this, and let me just enjoy the process rather than trying to be at the finished product.
Thank you. Do we have any more questions?
Which transferable skills were sought after in your jobs?
Did you guys get that?
I can start, so for me, I obviously trained as an actor, so we do lots of things about like confidence, communication. We work in an ensemble, so you're with a lot of people a lot of the time, and that's really helped with all the coaching, the teaching, the facilitating that I do. A few months ago, I was teaching in seminars at Oxford University and sort of delivering sessions with these PhD, really intelligent people. And I was coaching them on communication and leadership and teamwork. Small little me was doing that with these big bosses. And it's interesting, that's all come from the transferable skills that you get as an actor. So there's no, there's no limit to what God can do through you. Just be open. There's so many transferable skills that all of us have.
I would say for me, on a day-to-day basis, I deal with important stakeholders around the country, so CEOs, CFOs, and communication, speaking confidently, knowing what you want to discuss with them, and knowing he's writing there, you understand, and I like it. Just speaking confidently and knowing what you're about to present, and just be confident in your vocabulary, and just owning what you're about to say to these individuals. So communication is transferable in every job, in your job. It's a key component in life and in your career.
To the person who asked the question, what's your name, sorry? David. Okay, so the answer I'm going to say to the question is actually asking questions. And Kerry and I, during the kind of previous session around finances, we looked at each other when you had asked a question to the last speaker, because we were like, how does this baby-faced young man ask such intelligent questions? And I would say that is one of the most important transferable skills to continue developing as a young person. There have been rooms that I have been brought into in my job because they said, we need Dorian there because she's going to ask the right kind of questions. We need someone who's going to try and see the bigger picture and find the holes in it so that we don't have any gaps when we go to the client. And so coming to things like this, talking to your parents, talking to your friends, and making sure you're not just receiving information and then that's where it ends, but thinking about what comes next. What are the holes? Where are the gaps? What does this mean if we do it this way? That is quite literally one of the things that I think sets me apart in my job. And so developing that as a skill wherever you go, regardless of the industry, will serve you so well. So just keep on doing whatever you're doing, David, because you're brilliant. But that's one thing for all of you to know is, ask questions, actually think, process information, because critical thinking is it's such a simple thing, it sounds like, but it makes such a difference. And I'm sure you can attest to it, that you can be in rooms with C-suite executives that they just need that one person in the room to ask the right kind of question, and it can unlock strategies and ways of thinking and approaching business that generates millions for the company. So that would be my advice for what to focus on developing as you get older: critical thinking and asking questions. Nothing's ever stupid either for a question.
Yeah, again, I can't reiterate communication skills enough, as my colleagues have said. Communication skills, I think, is number one, and it's not even close in my opinion. But I would also say being proactive. No matter what you're doing, always be proactive. Make sure you're always going out of your way to learn more about where you are. Even before you enter the workplace, if you know the job you're going into, do the research beforehand. Show them when you walk in that you know your business, you know what you're doing there, and that you're one to look out for, as you're working. And always be proactive, always keep learning, and keep that mindset of always improving, and you'll be just fine.
So, I've got a question, and I think it's from the parent perspective. And you raised the point around parents wanting the best, and hence why we sort of maybe try to steer people in a certain direction. A lot of you, and I'm glad we had a younger panel, because a lot of you have a focus on chasing your dreams. But I guess my question is, how did you balance chasing your dreams with the reality of, at some point, having to look after yourself, especially financially?
That's a very good question. I think that really tailors towards more of the niche industries. If you are trying to go into more niche industries like acting or dancing or wherever it may be, there always has to be a balance between passion and being realistic. I think I can't really relate to that, to be honest, personally, because I've always had the pathway of making money. I've always thought that the career path I'm going to go into will always be one where I'm making a lot of money, so it's not something I can particularly relate to, but I feel like there's always a balance of passion and money. But there's also a way where you can always have multiple streams of income, as we said earlier. Even if your passion doesn't pay well, if you have multiple streams of income, you'll be fine, and you can still pursue the passion you want to, even if it's not paying you the best at that moment. Having those resources to your disposal, you can always pursue wherever you want if you have that money in the background to build and to continue pursuing your passion. So I would say, don't limit yourself to a career. Always have entrepreneurial side of your wealth, and make sure you always have something to fall back on if you do decide to pursue purely a passion that is a bit of a risk.
So I'm not a parent yet, but so I'll try and answer from the perspective of what I think I saw my parents do. So my siblings and I'm the youngest of 3 kids, and we have like completely different careers. Like my sister's currently training to be a like psychological doctor. My brother's an entrepreneur in like the field of robotics and, well, now AI. And obviously I've gone into the world of like more corporate, now also kind of in the AI space. But one thing that when we were growing up, our parents always did was kind of like challenge us to think through what the implications of your choices are. The idea that this is your life. At some point, you're going to move out of this house, and it's you and yourself and your bank account. So let's make sure we're thinking through what the implications are. They didn't try to tell us what we had to do. My dad himself, he had a science background, so he kind of tried to encourage that in all of us, but I don't enjoy the sciences, so I made that very clear very quickly, and he accepted it. And I think it's important as parents to be aware of the facts that, what you've seen so far in your lifetime massively shapes and colors how you see the world, but the future is something you have not yet seen. And so there's no point telling your kids that they have to go down a certain path, because that job could become obsolete in the next 10 years, and you probably don't want that responsibility on your shoulders. When my brother was thinking about, what he wanted to do for his career, there were, uncles and aunties that were saying that it doesn't make sense for him to go and study robotics engineering. What's even that? Go and do normal traditional engineering. Do you always need to build bridges? Governments always need people to do contracts to build buildings. But that wasn't what he wanted to do. And my dad sat him down and said, why this path, you know? And he said, well, you know, I think this industry is going to look like this, hopefully in the next few years, and I think, you know, this is something I'm really good at, it's what I really enjoy. And when it was my own time to go to university, it was the exact same thing. What is philosophy? What is politics? What is economics? How are you going to eat? Are you trying to become the prime minister? So we literally had to have those kind of conversations, and he said, you know what, it's time for you to think about what A-levels you want to pick and think about, you know, the implications for university. I'm giving you a week, go away and do your research, and then you're going to do a presentation for me and tell me why you want this path. So I had a week to go and sit down and do my Googling and figure out this, this, and this, and it tied back to, you know, there's this career called management consulting that I think I might be good at one day. So if I go and do philosophy, politics, and economics at university, it gives me this kind of skills, and therefore I can do that down the line. I think you need to stop seeing it as your responsibility as a parent to put them on the right path and start seeing that your role is to steward them to figure out what the right path is for them. And whether that ends up looking like acting or looking like, you know, a more corporate career or looking like entrepreneurship, that is not your role actually to decide. It's God's role. And if you raise a child that is, you know, confident in who they are, confident in what their skills are, but you've also committed them into God's hand, then you kind of have to leave the rest to God. But I think we can both testify to the fact that the future of work is such a buzzword in the consulting industry, because all of the business leaders are aware of the fact that no one knows what the future looks like. We're constantly thinking about how do we train our people to get the right kind of skills that are still going to be relevant in 5 to 10 years' time. Talk less of having kids that are going to be entering the world of work in 10 years' time. And so just be aware that we're all limited, and we do ourselves a disservice if we don't allow people to lean into their natural passions and also trust God that he will guide them aright.
Quite, like, very, very practically, because that was the exact situation that I was in. I wanted to be an actor, and I went to drama school, and I got an agent, and I've done fun jobs, and that's the dream. And then very, very practically, okay, how do I survive? Similar to what David was saying about transferable skills, like, I don't just act. That's like maybe 5% of my income stream, but I'll teach, I facilitate, I coach, like all of those things fund the dream. And so the dream still exists and it's still there, and when I act it's lovely, but I'm still very, very fulfilled doing these other things. And I don't think I would have been able to do that if I wasn't the person that I am. And so it's more of a, you can do anything you want, but you need to be proactive. There's money to be made in literally every single industry ever. Like, the money's literally right there. It's just about asking the right questions, being in the right rooms, being with the right people. And so it's more of a, I guess from a parent's perspective, I think it would be more like equipping your young people with that mindset they really can do anything and everything if they put their mind to it. Being a person that employers want to favour. Like, I work with a lot of young people, and I'm running a summer school at the moment, and some of the kids, it's so interesting, we'll be doing, I'm like obviously facilitating, doing acting, coaching, acting, teaching with them, and in sessions, the ones that are the most forthcoming, the ones that are like, oh, I can do this, oh, we're doing drama, but I rap as well, oh, just look at this, and the ones that are so willing to just put themselves out there and see, I'm like, oh, cool, I can use that, we're doing a sharing next week, because they've put themselves out there and told me what they can do and shown me. It's so easy to just, okay, brilliant, that's it in my mind, I can work with what I said, sort of regardless, I think, of the industry they go into, because so many things are changing career-wise with AI, with so much is happening that's changing the future of work. But I feel like, yeah, it's more of a personality thing, and that resilience, that confidence will shape them. And the school matters, like, you should absolutely try your best in everything that you do, but like, nobody's looking at your GCSEs. A-levels maybe, it's more the way the exam system works anyway. It's more the skills that you learn from doing the work and the mindset you develop from studying and revising. That stands you in better stead than the actual grades themselves, because I don't know about you, but I've never been asked for my GCSE, even my A-levels. I don't think anyone's ever asked me for them, but I'm glad I worked hard at them.
Step after that, university and so on and so forth.
Oh, so apologies. It's the next step after that. So university, whatever you study in university, or like some people study. For example, I studied law in university. I'm not a lawyer, but those skills I've taken into my job that I do now. So it is the next step after that university level.
So I think I definitely echo what the panel has already said, that it's less so about the subjects you choose to study. But I will say, in my experience, given what we had said earlier around like be here and in the moment and think about what you need today for what you want to do tomorrow, I would definitely say that my academic trajectory has kind of needed to follow the path that it did for me to get to where I am today, because I needed to get the GCSE grades and in those subjects so that I could do the A-levels that I wanted to go and do, and I had to get the A-level grades I wanted to do so I can go and study at University of Warwick. And at the time, I think consulting and lots of corporate organizations are being a bit more diverse in where they recruit from, but back in my day, they actually had a few select universities that they would consider for like their graduate schemes. And so going to a top 10 university was kind of mandatory to have those opportunities to be in the right room, to go to the networking events where they kind of, send their people to be represented. So for me, it did matter, because without the GCSEs, I wouldn't have done the A-levels. Without the A-levels, I wouldn't have gone to Warwick to study what I did. And I don't think if I hadn't gone to Warwick, I don't think I would have gotten into Deloitte's grad program and be doing what I am today. So just be aware that, like, yes, it's not a guaranteed, your future is kind of shot out of the water if you don't get the grades, but it has to be said that there are still certain rooms that have minimum requirements before you can enter them. Same thing for things like medicine. You have to get certain grades, you have to do certain subjects before you can say you want to be a doctor. So do plan for the long term, but don't think that it's going to shut any doors necessarily. There's lots of flexible ways to get where you want to get.
Sorry, just to add quickly as well, I feel like in my industry anyway, like loads of people have A-levels, loads of people have GCSEs. It's the things that you have on your CV, the things that you have that other people don't have, like what makes you stand out. So whether it was a course that you did, a scheme that you did, a masterclass that you did, find out what you're actually interested in, pursue it properly, and that's the experiences, the people, the connections that you'll make from doing that, I think also helps you stand out. So as much as yes, school is important, GCSEs, A-levels are important, the stuff that you can boost yourself up with outside of that, I think is also equally as important.
If you get 10 A stars, you'll be very much better set up than if you were to get 5 A stars. Your grades are important for your next step. In the long term, for example, right now, my GCSEs, they couldn't matter less to me right now. But getting from your stage to A-levels is very important. It's the most important thing in your life right now, your GCSEs. And getting from your A-levels to your uni, your A-level grades are your most important, and your GCSEs stop being that important. So basically, it's always about where you are right now. You guys are 12 to 19 years old, you might be a bit older, I don't know. 12 to 19, your grades are everything. Once you get past that, they're not that important. But for right now, focus and get your A stars and your A's, and then you'll be set up nicely.
Say if you're going through a hard time emotionally, like as someone 12 to 19, what would you do to make sure your passion doesn't die?
Sorry, I couldn't hear you.
Say if you're going through something emotionally, like when you're 12 to 19, what would you do to make sure that your passion doesn't die?
Oh, that's a heavy question. I think passion in life is what keeps you happy. I think if you're emotional, I think one thing to focus on is your passion, because your passion will keep you going, and your passion will keep you happy. So if you're going through an emotional time, focus on your passion wholeheartedly, and try and obviously go through your emotions first. I think you should always focus on your emotions and not lock them up. That always becomes a problem in the future. So always go through your emotions first. Make sure you have a clear head, or as much of a clear head as you can as possible, and pursue your passions harder than you were beforehand, and that will keep you motivated. That will keep you on a straight line, and that will keep you passionate about your future.
So I think that having a difficult time emotionally, especially as a young person, because your brain is developing, lots of things are changing, like hormones are ranging. It can be quite actually an intense period, and I would say that actually I think my teenage years were quite like emotionally turbulent. Just lots of changes happening, lots of big emotions to deal with. But one of the things that I really found helpful was just having parents that cared, parents that said it's normal to feel this way. I feel like sad and down sometimes too. And you don't have to feel that your emotions are like this thing that has to be like is a lifelong skill. It's something that you have to keep on developing. I think as a teenager, you're doing it for the first time, so it can feel really, really hard. But yeah, whether that's giving yourself, 5-10 minutes out in your day or away from your revising, just to breathe and process, or go outside for a walk and just say, this is my moment to feel my feelings and to just go through this and know that when I'm done, I have to go back to, getting the work done is totally fine. So just be aware, I think, that emotions are normal, they're fine, every single person has them, and that includes bad or like negative emotions too.
I'll just add to that, tough times don't last, tough people do.
Tough times never last.
What I would say is sometimes it's hard for passion to be something that you're generating yourself. So there might be things externally to you that really help, like, keep your passion going. So it might be friends, it might be family members. For me as an artist, I might go to the theatre, I might watch a movie, might go to a dance show, like might read something. It's like external things that get me inspired, that helps to keep my passion alive if I'm struggling to sustain it myself. Those external sources really help. So there might be something in your life that similarly can boost you when you might not have anything in the tank, have anything in the reserves. Those things you can then fall back on. So I guess build a bank up now of things that you can rely on, things that, okay, when you know it's tough, when you know that emotionally things might be low, when you know mentally you might be in a tough place, people that you can rely on that will really, really boost you and keep you. So I know the people in my life that I go to when things get difficult for me. And yeah, it's essential for me to have that, because it's really hard to rely on yourself, especially when you are in a difficult season. That puts a lot of pressure on you as well. So yeah, find things in your external that support you when you can't support yourself.
Really good question and answers, everybody. For these last questions, can we only have like maybe one or two people speak just because of the sake of time? Everybody get to eat. So.
My question is from a parent's point of view. Growing up, it's been all talked about, when you finish, go to uni, go to uni, go to uni. Now, you hear there's apprenticeships and stuff. What is the panel's view about uni, the traditional way, or the apprentice route?
So, university is quite a funny discussion right now, because you've probably seen online there's millions of ways of making money, and there's millions of different avenues you can take that aren't just university. I think from generation to generation, the last generation has taken a massive step compared to previous generations before that. And my parents, for example, they're all university goers, and they all get your degree, start a job, and then go from there. There are a lot less limitations on how you can make money these days, and there's a lot of different avenues you can take. You can take, obviously, the university route, you can take apprenticeship route, you can also become a creative, and there's millions of ways you can make money. You can even be a TikTok millionaire these days. So I would say to parents, listen to your child's passion. Don't restrict them to go into university. Just make sure they always have a balloon to drop on if things go left. But don't block their roots of passion. Make sure that they have their passion to pursue. If that's not university, allow them to go their own route. It's their life. There's more ways to make money than just going to university and getting a job. Me now, I have a lot of university debt, and that's a sticky topic as well to talk about. Looking back, the job I'm going into in a month's time, I don't need a degree to go into that technically. But I know that the degree helped me get there, one way or another. So a degree might help you get to places, but it's not a be-all, end-all if you go to university or if you don't. Do what you want to do with your passions, with your life, and if you can, as I said earlier, make sure you have multiple streams of income, so that if that one passion doesn't always pay off. You always have a balloon to drop on, and make sure that even if your parents are telling you to do other things, make sure you communicate with them all the time. Don't just go your own way and drop them or not talk to them at all. Make sure you're always talking to your parents. Make sure they know what your plan is for your life. As my colleague said, she gave them a plan for her life. If you give your parents a plan for your life and you tell them, I've done my research, they're not going to stop you. Your parents love you no matter what. If you say, I want to be a dancer, an actor, a TikTok superstar, they will support you no matter what. So don't think your parents won't love you if you pursue something else. But make sure you have a plan in place to get you, steady on your path.
Great.
Just like echoing what Ola just said, you get, like, university isn't free. Yes, you get student finance, but you will have to pay that back. So I'd actually advise you to think really carefully about whether the career that you think you want to go into, whether the degree you're going to do is actually required for it, because you're going to be like minimum 40k in debt by the end of university. So it's like, actually think really hard about whether that's the right path for you. A lot of people want the uni experience, but then come out and then know, like, financially, career-wise, they're not actually better off for having gone to uni. For a long time, that was just the traditional path that we were expected to take, but it's not necessarily the only way of doing things. So I would actively encourage you to look at other ways of building yourself up that don't necessarily follow that traditional uni route. Also, you can take your time. Like, I took a gap year, and for me that was really, really helpful, because in that time I could then assess other options, build other skills, that then when it then came to uni, I felt like I was more equipped. So there's also no rush. You don't have to go straight into uni after leaving school, if uni is what you want to do.
Thank you so much to our lovely panelists. Can I get a round of applause?
Okay, so there may be something for you to respond to, but I just want to also get it out there. I'll be honest, raise my hands. I was one of those who was tearing, maybe not to the extent of your dad, because I couldn't see how 3 A stars say you want to go and do acting. Like, why? And I did try to go to Oxford, join the Footlights. I tried, you remember? Yeah, till her cousin said, Uncle, leave her alone. Do you know I went to report it to Tomisi?
I know.
Oh, okay. So I went to report her to her cousin to say, talk to her. And she said, Uncle, leave her alone. And that's when I calmed down, because he's very sensible. And I calmed down. So in following your dream and following your heart, I know you've addressed you have to be realistic because you have to live your life. But as from the parenting perspective and for the young people, what about if a young person is just, and after last year's uplift, one of our parents actually took me up on that to say, Lucy was saying, this day follow your dream thing. She should be here in the next minute. Lucy was saying all this follow your dream stuff. I'm not happy with that. I had one of the parents last year. Now, if the young person is just sleeping their life away, and they say, I want to follow my dream, and all you see them do is sleep. You don't see them get up. You don't see them show. You could convince me that you had a plan. I got Kerry to speak to a friend of mine as well, whose son wants to go into acting. Spent money on private school, paid lots of money through private school, and you want to go and do acting after private school money. So I said, I know somebody, let her talk. So Kerry spoke to them. Now, so on the parent's perspective, I spoke to that young man, and he said, Uncle, it feels like I was born to do this. That's the exact words he used. And I said to the mom, leave him alone. After you have spoken to them, mom still came at me. Talk to him. And he said, Uncle, I think I was born to do this. This is what God brought me on earth to do. So if you hear that as a parent, I think it makes you calm down. So young people, in what we are saying, if you can convince your parent that you have a plan, this is what you want to do, and we are seeing the passion. If you say you want to play football, and you are not going to training, and you are not eating healthily, and you are just not living the life of somebody who wants to play football, should we be comfortable with it as parents? Or what would you think is going on there? So let me park that. You also, there was a question about the GCSE one as well. This one I'm speaking as a psychologist. Okay? What is really important that the panel has also said is it's not just always just the grade. It's those set of attitudes that you demonstrate that is going to stand you in good stead for the next step. So I have known people who did not make the grade, but they worked their socks off, but they didn't get the grade. And they are still successful. Why? Because it's not just about the grade. It's about the diligence, the conscientiousness, the hard work, the resilience, the no being a redirection, even in the grade. You know, it's a set of skills and attitudes that you demonstrate that tend to give you good grades. But it's not the good grade. It's those attitudes that leads to the success. Does that make sense? Okay, and then, let me stop.
Thank you for that. That was really good. Yeah, okay. So, one thing I want everybody in this room, specifically obviously our youths, to take away from this is I want you to reflect on what everybody else has said. And I want you to just talk amongst yourselves, like when we're having the break and stuff like that, and think, what's one thing that was said today that I'm going to take and I'm going to implement in my life today and moving forward. So, yeah. But thank you so much again to our panelists. Can we get one more clap for them? And we shall now go into our breaks and refreshments. So yeah, enjoy, eats, and we'll be back soon.
Thank you. Well done, MC.
MC.
MC. Well done. Yes.
How long is the break even going to be now? We're like 30 minutes behind schedule.
No, 10 minutes.
All right. So, welcome back, everyone. It is now time. It's now time for a musical ministration from Anita before our final session starts. Father, we just thank you for this day that you've made. We thank you for this opportunity to come together and worship you, to learn about you and to learn about life and just get advice from people who have gone ahead of us and that you placed ahead of us that we can learn from and you've used as instruments to teach us. And Lord, I just pray that everything we've picked up today, we can apply it to every area of our lives and that you can see adults around them as examples that can lead them, but above every other physical example, I pray that they're able to see you as the main instrument to follow. But yeah, as we go into praise and worship, I pray that your Holy Spirit fills this place, and we just invite you, Lord, to come together and worship you, to learn about you and to learn about life and just get advice from people who have gone ahead of us and you're worthy of it all. You're worthy of it all. For from you are as examples that to you are you deserve the glory. You're worthy of it all. You're worthy of it all. For from you are all things, to you are all things, you deserve the glory. You're worthy of it all. You're worthy of it all. Yes, Jesus. For from you are all things, to you are all things, you deserve the glory. You're worthy of it all. You're worthy of it all. Oh Jesus, you're worthy of it all.
from you all, to you all things. You deserve all. You're worthy of it all. You're worthy. We worship you, Jesus. We lift up our hands. We give you all the glory. We come in adoration. 'Cause you are Jehovah Jireh, Adonai and El Shaddai. Who is there who's like unto thee? Mighty deliverer, the rose of Sharon, my great deliverer. You brought me out of the miry clay, and you set my feet upon the rock. We call you Waymaker, miracle worker, promise keeper, light of the darkness, my God, that is Waymaker, Waymaker, light of the, my God, you are the Waymaker, light of the darkness. That is who you are. That is who you are. There's nobody like you, Jesus. You've made a way for me. That is who you are. That is who you are. That is who you are, Jesus. You're the Waymaker, Jesus. Who is like unto you, Jehovah? My Father, my Savior. You've made many, many promises. We worship you. We worship you. Oh, you wait. Oh, you Waymaker. My God. Waymaker. Promise keeper. My God. Waymaker, Waymaker, miracle worker, light in the darkness. Waymaker, Waymaker, promise keeper. My God. worship you, Jesus. Lord, we worship. Lord, we worship. We worship. We worship you, Jesus. 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 Thank you, Jesus. We worship you, Jesus. We worship you, Jesus. We worship you, Jesus. We worship you, Jesus.
That was so beautiful. Thank you. All right. Now we will go into our final. We will go to our final session of today. Everyone can be seated. Yes, everyone can be seated. Right. The topic for our third and final session is becoming the builder: habits, discipline, and growth. Now, to describe our next speaker, she is a managing director. She's a head of transformations for Barclays Corporate Bank. She's also an author, just like Angela was. She has her own website, which I found kind of cool. And she studied electrical and electronic engineering at the University of East London. To speak to us over the next 40 minutes on becoming the builder, I have the absolute pleasure of inviting Mrs. Lucy Quist to the stage.
Well, thank you for having me again. At least it meant I left on good terms. Right, good afternoon, everyone. I hope you've all had a brilliant 2 days. Yes. And you've taken on so much information, you're probably in a bit of overload in your mind. So I promise you, it's not going to be a speech. Are you relieved? Yeah, so it's you've got the lectern and everything, but don't worry, it's not going to be a speech. We're going to interact with each other, because who wants a boring older person showing up with a speech that's 30 minutes long and trying to stay awake, right? I know you're all being extremely polite, but I know you're thinking that at the back of your minds for some of you. So I'm going to do what I did the last time. Who is our youngest person? Who's our youngest person here today? Okay, who is 8? Who's 8 years old? Okay, 9. 10. 10, okay. Is anyone younger than 10? No, so 10 is our youngest person. Okay, for the oldest person, I'll give ranges. You think that's fair, right? We're not going to go with exact range, right? Exact age. So who is 60 to 70? Okay, we are blessed. Round of applause for, there you go. So the reason why I ask is that obviously we're about to have a conversation that covers all of us in this room, but mostly you guys, but we know that we have some amazing people in the room who also have a lot of experience as well, who are probably going to chime in as we go along. But I want you to relax and open your minds and open yourselves up to the fact that we're going to have a great conversation together. Now, someone who's a bit older than 10, maybe a teenager, if you have your phone on you, I want you to look something up for me on the internet, and I'll come back to you to read it out. But can you search for me? So first of all, who's our volunteer? Okay, volunteer, what's your name? David. So David, I want you to go on your phone, and I want you to look up the start of the Sunday school movement. Just that. Start of Sunday school movement. And we'll come back to that in a moment. So today I've been asked to speak about becoming the builder, habits, discipline, and growth. And, you know, as I was preparing and thinking about this, I thought what a privilege it is for your pastor, your leaders, to invite me. So thank you very much to come and have this conversation with you. Because I think it's one of the most important things that you'll ever get to do. And I see these two young men here and this young lady here diligently taking notes. I think that they're already in build mode. Oh, more notes being taken there. So I can see that I'm already in the room in the company of builders, and you'll see why in a moment. But the three things I wanted us to talk about as we talk about building is literally from the title. So how do we build through our habits? How do we build through discipline? And how do we build through growth? Who here believes that God is a builder? Okay. So you believe God is a builder. Tell me why. Do you want to stand up and tell us your name so everyone can hear you? I know you can speak very loudly. Oh, okay, sorry. All right.
My name's Jeremy, and I think God's a builder because he created everything in the universe.
Your name, please.
My name is Zikora, and I think we are builders because we're created in God's image and likeness. So that means if God is a builder, that means we're builders as well.
So it sounds like I think I can go home now because we've established that God is a builder. We've established that because we are made in his image, we are builders. And that is such a foundational truth that regardless of whatever else I say today, I want you to walk away knowing that you are created in the image of God who is a builder. It is your identity. So you have a fundamental, not only responsibility, but ability to build. The challenge with ability is that we only know it when we use it, right? If I told you I can write, until you've seen me write, you have no evidence that I can actually write. But I can say I can write. Do you agree? So, who here wants to share something they think they built?
I have built a platform for me to share my artwork with other people so that like I can like foster interest in it. I've also kind of built a platform to be like noticed in terms of design.
Okay, awesome. So while you have the mic, I want you to read out a little bit of what you found out about the Sunday school movement.
Okay, so although the first, strictly speaking, actual Sunday school was made in the 16th century, the Sunday school movement began in the late 18th century as a lay movement to teach young people to read and write in the homes of volunteer teachers on the young people's only day off from work. So these teachers would set up Sunday school unions for the teachers to discuss their work, and then at the actual Sunday schools, they would give lessons to young people from the working class who are working and, would only be off of work one day, which was a Sunday. Now, it was criticized from within the church because, you're not meant to work on the Sabbath. Apparently, we haven't ungrown that mindset yet. And they were also criticized because, more widely, for potentially giving too much power to the working classes. There was also the wider concern that 80% of children and young people in Sunday school were not attending the churches themselves. But that's where it started. So it's really a movement to teach people how to read and write.
And then what happened?
And then in the mid-20th century, moving Sunday schools, the majority of which took place in the afternoon, to the morning to fit with church service times, essentially marked the decline of the movement, because you would just get loads of family
I think you've
churches.
missed a little bit. So at the beginning of the movement, right, what had happened in England was people were falling away from the church. I think that was the earlier bit you touched on. So
Yes.
you come up into the 20th century where things were falling away. But at the beginning, people were doing all sorts of things in this country. And people weren't going to church, right? And so what they tried to do, and I think you touched on that in the beginning, and that must have been in the 16th or 18th century when they started.
Yeah.
And what they started was they decided that they were going to get children into Sunday school and teach them, amongst other things, the Word of God. Now, the reason why I use that example is that for people like me, and I'm sure for people like yourselves, we always thought that Sunday school has already existed, or always existed, right? Did you ever think that there was a time when there were no Sunday schools? You did? You think there was a time when there were no Sunday schools? I didn't think that. You're way smarter than me, because when I was a child, I'd assumed that Sunday school just existed. But the important thing is that some people made a decision to create Sunday schools to meet a certain need, and out of that movement, many, many great people of the church came from that movement that started raising young people. And that's a great example of building, because it didn't exist, but there was a need, and they decided to build. Does that make sense? You guys are awfully quiet. Right? So my point is that to start to build, we have to have a reason to build. And that reason to build can be so many things, but I think for each and every single one of you, just like David described his platform, there's something that is planted in you, at least one thing. There are many, but at least one thing that's planted in you that's going to require you to build. Right? Now, because we've established the fact that God is a master builder, and we've established the fact that we're in his image, we're reminded in Psalm 127 verse 1 that unless the Lord builds the house, the builders labor in vain. And what that essentially means is that we need God in our building plans. Do you agree? Right? Whatever plan that we come up with, we have to submit the plan to God. Now, do you know why we have to submit our plans to God? The verse in Psalm 127 says, if we don't, we build in vain. But why do we need God to be the builder in our lives? We have a hand up here. Why do we need God to be the builder so that we don't build in vain?
I think maybe to teach us how to build in the first place. Because,
yes.
Yeah.
Yep. We need God to teach us how to build. And bear in mind that God created every single one of us for a reason. I know you've talked about purpose in this conference, right? So if you tie that back to what you learned from the purpose session, whatever you're building should be part of your purpose. But the truth is that none of us shows up knowing what that purpose is. We figure it out. God reveals it to us. So we need God to guide our building work, because he knows the purpose for which he created us. And so if you go ahead and you start building things out that are not according to God's plan for your life, I see a head shake here. Do you disagree? Then we build in vain, because it's like I'm supposed to go this way, and then I didn't let God guide me this way. I saw some people going that way, and I followed them and I went with them. But that's not the way I'm supposed to go. But because I didn't ask for God for direction to go my way, I followed everybody else that way. Does that make sense? Okay, so let's unpack this a little bit. And let's start from our habits. Who can I ask? Don't look away. I need a volunteer to tell me, describe for me. And I want someone who's in school, right? And I want you to tell us about one day in your school life. Pick Monday to Friday. Just tell us one day in your school life. On a school day. Just one day. How the 24 hours go for you. Any hands up here? It's your day. Just one day. And don't give us all the minutiae. Just give us across a few hours, and I spend 5 hours in school, then I do this and I do this. Tell us. What's your name, please?
Coco.
Coco. Coco, tell us about a day in your life and on a weekday.
I wake up at like 6 to
Can you all hear Coco?
AM.
They can't hear you.
So I wake up to at like 6 or 6:20 a.m. I get ready for school. I take the train and then I walk to school. Then I do schoolwork for like a good couple hours. Then I take the train back home. Then I just sometimes do some of my homework, might sleep, might eat, to be honest. Kind of just depends on how I'm feeling on the day.
So you come back from school, eat, sleep, and then homework.
I eat, do homework, and then I might maybe spend some time for myself, I guess. Maybe.
What happens in the time for yourself?
I might watch a movie. I might read a new book that I got. It depends on what I have around me in that day, and that's what I work with. So if I have a new book, I'll read it. If there's something that I'm interested about, I'll maybe research it just to see more about it. So it just depends on what I have in that day, so I can adapt around it.
Okay, and that's a typical school day, Monday to Friday for you. Okay, no social media?
Depends on, I don't have any social media on my phone, so not really.
Who said when she said she has no social media on her phone?
I don't.
Who was that? It's not, again, sorry? Someone was like, Who was it? I just want to hear from you. Tell me what the surprise. Yes? Anyone willing to offer? Yes, we have a hand here. Yeah, just tell us. Say it out loud, it's fine. Why you said
Because most of us, that's how we keep ourselves entertained.
That's how you keep yourself entertained. Great. So which social media are you on?
Everything.
Everything. That means I don't know all of them, because I kind of know 3. But if you're on everything, that's a long list.
I guess, yeah.
Okay. All right. So hold that thought, and thank you. Good thought. Thank you. Thank you for the reaction. So the first thing, we're only talking about 3 things really quickly when it comes to building. And the first thing we're talking about is habits. And the thing about habits is that we can be intentional or not, right? So when Coco described her day, there's some aspects of her day that sound mandated, right? Because she goes to school. So you have to get up, you have to shower, you have to get to school, you have to do your schoolwork. All those things, they feel like we're made to do it. Do you agree? Why do you think we're made to go to school? Who came up with this brilliant idea? Why make us go to school? We have a volunteer here. Your hand was up, right? No? Okay, back to you. We have another hand here. Why are we made to go to school?
I think it's a way of forming a mindset to help us later in life, because I feel like a lot of lifestyles later in life are a lot more demanding, and having your body getting used to waking up early in the morning or being in the same kind of really demanding cycle helps you later in life.
That's a really good point. And I think David made, when he was talking about the Sunday school movement, he talked about how young people used to work all the time. And can you imagine if right from the time that you were able, you just worked, versus your opportunity to go to school? So in case anybody is feeling that school is a drag, the alternative is still waking up at 6 but going to work. I think there's one hand, yes, over here.
Without school, we'll be illiterate.
You'll be what?
Illiterate. Like we won't.
Yeah,
read,
you'll be
we won't
illiterate.
write.
Exactly.
We don't know how to do anything because we've been going to school since we were like babies, and without that, we would only know how to talk.
Exactly. And you know, the great thing about being literate is that you can read your Bible for yourself. I think it's another thing that we take for granted. We assume that all through the generations, people have had the opportunity to read their Bibles. Not so. There have been times when people could only hear the word of God if a preacher stands in front and opens it, not on an iPad, on something less sophisticated, and read it out. And whether the person is reading the right words or not, we had to live with it. So you can put your hands down. I'll come back to your hands in a moment. But I wanted to start with habits, because we have some really, really good examples of habits that people used to shape their destinies. And even though Jesus came to the world as the Son of God, and he knew his purpose and his mission, he made sure that he had the right habits that will support the vision of what he was building. So can you tell me one habit, and I'm hoping you're going to think of the most important habit that Jesus developed and repeatedly demonstrated in the Bible? Habit. The hands shot up so quickly.
Prayer.
Yes. You know how I keep saying, if there's one thing you remember this thing. The next thing I want you to remember under habits is the most important habit you can develop is prayer. It is the most important habit. Now, the Bible says that as a man thinketh, so he is. You've heard that one before? How your thoughts make you? Well, I dare say that I will add to that, because our prayer life is part of our thought life. Do you agree? Do you agree that your prayer life is part of your thought life? Because you think about the things you're going to pray, don't you? So if you're thinking it to pray it, then your prayer life is part of your thought life. And so as a man thinketh, he becomes, for me personally, translates as a man prayeth, so he becomes. You become your prayers. The Bible says that our prayers change everything. But the most important thing they change is us. So you have to form the right habits. And unfortunately, we live in a generation where for you have so many demands on your time. I understand the need for some of these demands, why sometimes you have to be on social media, you have to do things that may not sound like they're exactly the thing to do. But even your social media, I challenge you to one thing. Does your social media present you with Bible verses? Does your social media present you with prayers? Does your social media present you with what other Christians are doing? Because if your social media doesn't, then it means the algorithm doesn't know you're a Christian. Right? The algorithms are designed to present to us what they believe we're interested in. So if your algorithm never presents you with anything that is Christian, it means your algorithm doesn't know you as a Christian. So it would be so easy for me to stand here and vilify your social media and say it's a complete waste of your time. I won't say that. But the point is that if it's not feeding what you are building, and one of the things you're building is building yourself up as a Christian for the future, if it's not feeding anything you're building, then it is wasting your time. Does that make sense? Social media does anything that you want it to do. you see people who are studying math, and then I saw somebody studying math, and I saw their Instagram page, and it had images of people solving math problems. I'm like, wow, this can be on Instagram? I've never seen this on Instagram. But that's what the algorithm knows about that person. That if I show them a math problem, they'll keep scrolling. Does that make sense? So habits, extremely important. Prayer is an important habit. Whatever else you do with your time, make sure that it's directed in the ways of what you're building. Because you've talked about purpose. So I'm not going to go on about purpose and vision and so on, because you've done that already, which is why I'm veering more in the practical execution part. So Jesus' greatest prayer habit was prayer, and we know about that. But there were other examples of what Jesus did. Because aligned to prayer, Jesus was very comfortable with the idea of solitude. How many of you do not spending any time alone? Without social media. Like alone, just you. Oh, you all like spending time alone? Okay. It's a pretty cool bunch. Mummies and daddies, you can take the devices away. They're okay on their own.
Did you guys hear the question properly? You didn't hear the question properly.
They didn't hear it properly. Okay, who here is not comfortable with ever being alone? Okay, so tell us why you're not comfortable with ever. I'm not saying be alone all the time, but not comfortable with ever being alone.
Because I'll be bored.
Bored? But why will you be bored?
Because I have nothing to do.
But you have a lot to do.
Oh.
You do.
What am I going to do then?
You can reflect.
Yeah, but then I'll be bored after.
After what, 2 minutes?
Yeah.
Okay. So I'm going to offer you a challenge for you to take. And I want you to give yourself time to figure out how you can be alone. And you don't have to start it in one go. First of all, try 1 minute, then 2, then 3, then 5, then 10, then 15. Just 15. I want you to give your pastor the feedback of building yourself up to be able to sit alone, no device, there's you and your thoughts, and hopefully your prayers, 15 minutes. You don't have to reach 15 minutes tomorrow. I'm just offering you that challenge. It's very important to be able to spend some time with just you, right? Because you can't keep getting input and stimulus and noise constantly throughout your day. Because if we never have time of peace, who here knows that the Holy Spirit speaks in a still small voice? I'm sure you've read that, right? Well, if God speaks in a still small voice, I was talking right there, but none of you could hear me, could you? You could, because the room was quiet, right? But if you were doing anything else, so the guys at the back, could you hear me? You could, okay. So some of you, at the back they couldn't, you're closer so you could hear a bit. But you could hear me because you were paying attention, weren't you? You're paying attention, you're probably reading my lips as well, right? So that's the point of solitude. God speaks in a still small voice. If we never have the time to cut all the noise out, will we be able to hear him speak to us? So in terms of habits, give yourself time to pray. Give yourself time to reflect. Give yourself time to really engage with your own thoughts. So on a day-to-day basis, and we heard Coco give an example of how her day runs, ask yourself whether within that day you're doing enough of your building, because you guys have all articulated beautifully what it means to build. And your schooling is part of your building. But your time outside of school is your time to determine how much more building you're doing or how much more spending the time that you're doing. Solitude and prayer are really important because those habits shape your destiny. Just like school shapes. You go from year 1 to year 2 to year 3, right? And you feel you're building towards something because you're going 1 year to the next. Well, those daily habits that you're doing outside of school are also building you up to something in your life. But if you don't build them into a hand from the back, tell us how you're able to pray every day. How do you carve out time to pray every day? We all want to learn because it's an important habit.
It's not on still. For me, like 2 years ago, I used to forget, like during like day to day, just even when I wake up, it was bad. So there was a day I just said, let me change this. So I set alarms on my phone for like certain times every day where I'll pause and I'll pray, and then doing that every day just helped to remember like throughout the day rather than just at that time.
And it became a habit.
Yeah.
Exactly. So please, 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 whether it is through alarm setting, whether it's recognizing that every time you're on the train, it's time to pray, whatever it is, carve out a time to pray. I'm going to move on to the second point, which is around discipline, right? We're staying on the topic. What does discipline mean to you? Okay, we have a taker here. What does discipline mean to you?
You can do something without no one telling you to do it.
Ah. Did you hear her? Yes? You didn't hear her? Okay, you need to repeat.
You can do something without anyone telling you to do it.
Do you hear her? Pardon? You heard her both times, okay. Does anyone have a different view on what it means, what discipline means?
Knowing how to do the right thing at the right time.
Know how to do the right time, okay, at the right time, and you talk about doing things without anyone telling you to do it. And they're both linked, right? And I'm so glad that when I said discipline, you didn't veer into the assumption about discipline meaning punishment and somebody barking orders at you. But if you as you build your habits, they become your disciplines, right? Because it's what it's just a way of life. And your discipline and your ability to not only habitually do the things that are aligned to your plan, but also choosing to do the right thing even when it's difficult. That's the bigger part. Who here has faced a situation where you thought, I know I'm supposed to do X, but it's really hard to do it right now. I want you to give us a concrete example and how you dealt. Does anyone have an example where from a discipline point of view, they knew what they had to do, but they found it difficult to do it? Okay.
I have to wake up early every morning to do my homework. Because of training, I don't have time to do it, and the time I have after school is to study, not do my homework. I slept really late, but I had to wake up really early in the morning, and I knew if I didn't wake up, I'd have a detention that would make me get home late, and then I'd miss training. So I did have to do it.
So you missed a bit of sleep that day?
Yeah.
Okay. But the discipline of knowing that you had to do your homework was the impetus to do it. So discipline really, I think, especially when you're younger, can feel very challenging. Especially when you're a Christian, a young Christian, and you're trying to follow the molding of your family and of your church family in the way that you should behave and the way that you should think. But we have examples of people who really stuck to discipline. And one of the areas where it's so important in our, to be disciplined is knowing when to say no. Do you ever feel uncomfortable when your friends are like, let's do something, and you know that this particular thing, we're not going to do it. It's not part of the way I'm being raised. It's not part of my guidance, but it's really hard to say no to them.
So like basically there was one time like I was with my friends and it's not like they were doing like immature things, but they said they wanted to go to like McDonald's in Strood after school on the hottest day of the year. And like so they were all going and stuff, but I said no, I'm good. Cause first I knew my parents wouldn't let me, and second like I just have better things to be doing with my time. So like yeah, I just said no. And then they kept like begging me I should come and stuff, but I just didn't change my mind.
And why didn't you change your mind?
Because like, I know I have homework, and like I know like I'm me being a mature person. Me being a mature.
Finish your thought. Finish your thought.
Me being a mature person, I know that I have stuff to do, and I know that me spending time with my friends just to like sacrifice for more important things isn't worth it.
Awesome. I love
Yeah.
that. Well done. I love that. I love that. And you guys should share more of your practical examples with each other all the time. I mean, when you spoke, I got the sense that you're some form of athlete or something, right? So athletes can only compete if they have a disciplined life, right? And the time that we see them perform, they've sometimes they've trained for years and months, you know, like the Olympic athletes. They're disciplined for years, and then we see them for a few minutes or seconds or at the Olympic Games. Yes? And for those few seconds that you'll see Usain Bolt win the race, he's been waking up every day doing all the training that is needed. So the challenge with discipline is that we have to be willing to do the right thing all the time, repeatedly all the time, even when it feels uncomfortable, even when it feels difficult, over and over and over and over again in a disciplined way. Discipline then means it has to be at a certain time, at a certain day, at a certain place, that we do the same activity over and over and over again, even when we do not feel like it. And when you read the Bible, there's an example like Joseph, right? Who he had the vision and purpose from a very young age, but there was a whole load of building that had to happen before he could get to it. And in his heart, he had decided that he wouldn't do things that were against what God wanted him to do. But the discipline part was hard because he repeatedly came up with situations where people wanted him to do the wrong thing. And he had to keep saying, no, I won't do the wrong thing because this is not what God wants me to do. But it was hard. Imagine being a slave and people telling you to do the wrong thing, and you still free people who are not slaves, telling you, the slave, to do the wrong thing, and you are willing to tell them that you won't do the wrong thing. Can you imagine how hard that must have been? Can you imagine? So we have examples. You can't. You're shaking your head. You can't imagine because thankfully we're not in that situation. So one of the great things that the Bible gives us is examples of people who have built and the journey they went through to build, so that we can learn from the things they got right. Sometimes they made mistakes. The mistakes are not there for us to copy the mistakes. The mistakes are there for us to see and go, I'm not going to do that. So Joseph demonstrated discipline in spite of the situation that he was in, and he was able to then say, I won't go with you, right? Another great example is Daniel. Who knows the story of Daniel? Right? Daniel not only had his habit of prayer, but he was disciplined enough not to participate in the food and drink that was used for revelry as his nourishment. Now, again, it takes a lot of discipline to look at what looks like the sumptuous McDonald's and go, I'm not going to go with you to McDonald's. I know it can be tasty, but I got to do this other thing that my parents would prefer. So my encouragement to you on both the habits and discipline is that who here has a friend? Okay, you all have friends. Okay, good. That's a good starting point. Who here has a Christian friend? Good. Who here talks to their Christian friend every day? Okay, David, thank you. David, I'll challenge you on that. Do you have a friend you talk to every day? Your sister can be your friend. Do you have a friend you talk to every day?
Yeah.
Okay. Is that friend you talk to every day a Christian?
Yes.
Can you talk to your Christian friend every day?
Yes. But because the question wasn't really entailing what your relationship to the friend is. I wasn't sure if I had to flourish or not.
No, and I appreciate the pushback, but that's why I built it up, and I'll tell you why I said that. I believe that most young people today, especially because of social media, you have at least one friend you engage every single day, right? But my question to you is that the friend who you're on a building journey with? Is that the friend who will say to you, well, we agreed we're going to pray every day. Did you pray? Or is that the friend that's going to go, well done, good job you didn't go to McDonald's? We all need at least one such friend is my point. So I'm sure you have friends. I'm sure you have Christian friends. I'm asking you as a builder, for all the things that God has planted in you, I'm asking you to have at least one Christian friend who is your go-to person that you talk to, even if it's just, hi, I hope you had a good day, you talk to every day. Because we now live in an age where you talk to people every day. Now, when I was growing up, we didn't have mobile phones. We didn't have the opportunity to talk to our friends every day. If your sibling wasn't your friend, then you had to walk to your friend's house. So maybe then we didn't talk to people every day. I get it. But you guys talk to somebody every day. And what I'm telling you as builders is that person you talk to every day, they need to be on the same journey as you are on. And if they're not, I'm not saying discard them and not be a light unto them, but you still need to find that one. You have to make it a goal. Because all these examples we give, apart from Jesus, who's the Son of God, God incarnate, every single human being who built needed people. Jesus built through people, but every single person who built needed people around them. We talk about Daniel, we don't always talk about his three friends, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, but they were his strength. Everybody needs somebody. You talk about Mary, mother of Jesus, when she was facing the biggest challenge of her life, what did she do? She went to Elizabeth. Everybody needs at least one person. So what I'm telling you around habits and discipline as a builder of your life and everything that God has placed in you to build is that make sure you have at least one person, one friend who is holding you accountable, who you can open up to and you can speak to every single day at any point in time to continue your building journey. I'm going to make the last point and then we'll wrap up. And I want to talk about growth. The question, how do plants grow? How do trees grow? What makes them grow? Take the mic. Tell us. How do they grow? Where does growth come from?
They need certain things like water, the sun, and yeah.
Is the mic
I
on?
said, okay, I said they need certain things like water and sunlight.
They need water, they need sun. That's good. Anything else they need to grow?
Like for plants to grow in general, they need to go through like photosynthesis and like get the nutrients from the sun and like water so they can eventually grow their roots first and then build up from their roots and grow like tall, like my maize in my backyard.
Your maize, well done. So we're going to join these 2 points because you talked about their roots. So to grow, the first thing you need to do is make sure you're planted, right? Because if I put a seed here, it's not going to grow, is it? I mean, bless you. This is a nice lectern and everything, but a seed won't grow here. Because this is not designed to be the place where things grow. So first of all, we need to go, it needs to be planted. And you're all planted right here in this church. Right? You have a planting. But then the roots start to grow. How many of you know that trees grow down before they grow up? Right? Because the roots start to go into the place that it's planted. Right? And then as the roots grow, then the stem starts coming up. And it starts trying to face the sun because it needs the sunlight. And the roots are looking for the water, right? So they're extending. But the stem and the leaves need the sunlight, right? So that they can photosynthesize and get nutrients. Well, for us to grow as builders, we're not that dissimilar. Because if you think about it, what the planting does, we've talked about habits, we've talked about discipline, but what the planting does is that it gives them a consistency. I'm not asking you to stand still in your life. I'm saying you need some things in your life that are consistent. How many of you have moved house before? What was it like? Sorry? Do you want to tell us? Oh, please do. You can remember. You raised your hand pretty quickly, quicker than everybody else. What was it like?
Most of my friends had to say bye to me. They made like a ceremony for me because I've been there since the nursery.
Yeah.
And that's it.
It was hard. Exactly. So my point is that to grow, we need to be rooted. And yes, sometimes we'll move house, and sometimes you can move a plant. But wherever we make movement to, we have to reestablish ourselves, like he's probably had to do, right? But make sure that you focus on having a consistency in your life. That doesn't mean that you're always changing, going back and forth, moving left and right. You're not really sure what you're trying to do. Remember, we talked about habits and discipline. When you bring those together, they should give you consistency. That consistency will then allow you to do what the tree does, which is allow your environment to feed you those nutrients. And when I say your environment, I don't even mean it literally. Yes, environment matters, but the grown-ups in your life, your teachers, your parents, your church, let them feed you. But as you're receiving that nourishment, allow it to build you up. So we use the example of studying biology, just one example. But if you're studying a subject, what happens? You become better and better at it, right? And you may decide to continue it after year 11, or you may not. But you've become better at it up to a point. And then at year 13, you make another decision. And then at university, you make another decision. The point is that growth requires a certain degree of stability so you can put one brick on top of the other. Does that make sense? You talked about us becoming literate. Becoming literate is a tool. Where is she? I'm trying to find her face. I think you're there. Right? Literacy is a tool, isn't it? Just being literate and never reading a book or never opening anything, nothing's going to go in my head because I didn't feed myself to grow, right? So as a builder, seek to grow. And I'm going to give you this challenge, a very intentional challenge. If you've never done it in your life, I know I've given one challenge already, but now I'm going to give you all a challenge. If you've never done this before, I want you to write down on a piece of paper something you're going to do for me, hopefully, but more importantly for yourselves, at the beginning of 2027. I want you to write down for yourself at the beginning of 2027, so you have like 4 months or 5 months to think about it. At the beginning of 2027, I want you to write down 3 areas that you're going to grow in your life through your intentional habits and discipline and being rooted to grow. And I want you to pick one area of your Christian life that you're going to grow. One. So one is Christian life. What do you want to grow in? Whatever. You pick whatever. I'm not dictating. And we're going to have to do this quickly because we need to wrap up. Number 2, I want you to pick one area in your academic life. And if you're not in school and you're working, then pick one area in your work life. but pick one area in work or school that you want to grow in, which means you're going to a new level in that area. And the last thing I want you to pick is one area in your social life, because you all have social lives, that you're going to grow in. One each. Because the point I want you to land on and remember as I wrap up is that growth is also intentional. So remember what I said about the tree? It reaches, the roots grow and reach for the water and the nutrients. And the stem grows and reaches for the sky and reaches for the sun that will help it synthesize. But it's doing that with a plan in mind. I grow my roots for nutrients, and I grow my top to synthesize. I want you to pick 3 areas to intentionally growing, because as you pick those areas, God will send the people who will help you achieve that growth. And hopefully, whether I have the opportunity to come back or not, I would love for you to tell your pastor, your Sunday school teachers, your parents, every adult in your life, what you have decided those 3 things are, and ask for their help to help you through your habits and your discipline to achieve those 3 things you've decided to grow in for the year. Thank you very much.
Okay. Thank you so much for that. That was very, very inspiring. We're going to have a very short Q&A if you'd still like to come up just for a very short Q&A.
Yeah, sorry.
Should only be a few minutes. So if anybody has any burning questions, make sure they're very useful questions, or then, yeah, please raise your hand and I'll pass them around.
Any question?
Oh, I think everyone wants to go home. Has anybody got a question?
Were you in a hurry to go home? Oh, no, I'm okay. I'm fine. Thank you. I thought there was a question somewhere here. No? No, you changed your mind? No questions? Okay.
What's your field of work and how do you carry that as a Christian?
Oh,
that's a really good question.
That is such a brilliant question. Thank you so much. So first of all, I work in financial services. So I work for a large bank. Such an important question and a hard question. So the way I carry my Christian faith into the workplace is that I try as hard as possible to do the one thing that Jesus told us to do more than anything else, is to love other people. And it can be hard because sometimes people can be critical when you don't think you deserve to be criticized. People can not appreciate your work sometimes. But what I find is that the more we live according to that love principle, the more people seek us out to do more work. But very importantly, the more we get opportunities to actually share faith. So one of the things that bothers me a lot in the workplace is that sometimes people get very uncomfortable if you want to talk about the church or being a Christian and so on. But what I find is that when you treat everybody with love, when people are feeling very vulnerable, they come to you. So it's not going to be a big room like this, but a lot of the time what happens is that one person comes and she says, well, Lucy, X, Y, Z, and we start building the conversation. And I've come across so many people who the conversation has led, they start with, yeah, I think there's something different about you, the way you behave, which is why they've come. And then sometimes I learn that they're looking for faith, or they're looking for God, or they have questions. So for me, that's the way it helps. I try to deal with the challenges and say, okay, God is in control. I will continue to behave as a loving person. I'm not saying I'm perfect, but I'll continue to make that my goal of growth and allow people to engage me one-on-one. And I find that really makes a difference. So thank you for that question, because it gives me reason to keep going to work as well.
I hope there's time for this. A quick one to you, because from the panel that we had and the earlier conversations, we're talking about trajectories, isn't it? What you study in university, what does that lead to? And when you were being introduced, you mentioned you studied electrical. What did you say, Tammy?
Electrical and electronic.
Electronic engineering. And now you work for a bank.
Yes.
Do you do engineering in the bank?
I don't. So let me add a little bit to my field of work. So I did study engineering. I did work in engineering for a number of years. But what's happened over time is that I've taken those skills I learned in engineering and I applied them to other things. So today, I work in a field called transformation where we're changing how the bank operates. Essentially, that's my job, to lead how we change the bank, how the bank operates. Now, yes, I've learned about financial services, but my core skills in engineering, and if you think of engineers, they make things and they, put things together. That skill allows me to think of the big picture of the system and all the moving parts, because if you imagine where I work, the whole company has 100,000 people. That's a lot of people. And even the division I work in has thousands of people. So if you're trying to reshape and remold a whole system, you've got to be able to think a bit of it as a system. So even though I studied engineering, I worked in engineering for many years, I'm able to apply those same skills in a completely different field of systems thinking, being analytical, working things out, and helping the bank perform better. So yeah, that's another part of your good questions.
Any other ones?
Thank you.
Anyways, what's it called?
It works.
It works. Hello? Oh, there we go. Okay. Okay. Thank you to everybody. Thank you for sharing your time, your knowledge, and your wisdom with us. We are truly grateful. Thank you to Pastor Gideon. Thank you for the vision behind Youth Uplift and for your commitment to empowering young people. Whoop, whoop. To everyone who worked tirelessly behind the scenes to make Youth Uplift 2026 a success, thank you, and your dedication and hard work are deeply appreciated. And to each and... Oh, and to each and every one of you, thank you for attending and contributing to what has been memorable, inspiring, and an impactful conference. As we conclude, I would like to invite Beatrice to lead us in the closing prayer.
Thank you, Lord, for this day. We pray that we'll be able, everything that we've learned today, we can put towards our life in Jesus' name. We pray that we've learned something new and we'll be able to take our money management seriously in Jesus' name. We pray that everything we've learned, we can put towards our life in Jesus' name. Amen. 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 In Jesus' name.
Thank you. Have a safe journey home. Yay. That's a wrap.
Avenue.